first and foremost, what I want to know is, why are we doing Fantastic Damage? Why is that the record that collectively, or maybe one of you guys decided and then presented it to the others? Why is this the one that we are going to attempt to trim to 10 tracks?
It's a seminal record for all of us, and either our fandom or our artistry, or actually both, and for everybody involved tonight. And so like it's a flagship record during a time when I remember nobody liked the record but me on campus. You know what I'm saying? With the people I was messing with, you know what I'm saying? These are like solo endeavors where you really have a passion for this type of art and you carry it, and next thing you know, everybody else catches up to you later. So I just think this record is a flagship for all of us independent underground artists, and it was great to try to put it into this Illmatic machine and see if we could shorten it a bit.
100%. That was Curly Castro. I realized we should probably do something to distinguish our voices in case people are not all up on our various tones. So why don't everybody just introduce yourself, and we'll hop into it.
PremRock over here. This record is very important because I remember when it was called The Pain Cave, and it was me as the next record to come out. Old school hip hop fan for sure. When you went to the dry erase board to see what date release was going to come out at the store. Yeah. It was LP Pain Cave for years. Not years, but I mean, I would say at least like 3.
Felt like years.
Yeah, it felt like years for sure. Not like Core Mega Testament, but that was like, that is. But formative, he felt like the torchbearer of like the kind of the indie vanguard to me at the time. Was very, very excited for when the record dropped. Definitely wouldn't say, it let me down in any type of way, but it was very interesting to approach it all these years later with this exercise. So peace to you guys for, introducing.
Yeah, man. Zilla Rocca, Wrecking Crew
Zilla Rocca,
podcast. What's up, man? Label mates.
Let's go.
Back, MidaZ. So I remember this album and the Jux movement. Like I've said this in person to a bunch of people. Like it was a demarcation line where all my rap friends I have now were either in Def Jux or like these records. And at the time it was like, if you weren't into this, we probably weren't banging with each other. It was very cut and dry. So no one in Philly I knew until I met Castro like Def Jux in terms of like fellow rappers. So that's when me and him became friends. And then Prem spoke that language. And then Smalls, I forget what your Jux status was with me. I don't think you were into it at the time, but I let it slide because you had some good beats. But then later on I clowned you and then you got with the program. So for me, it was like I don't remember seeing it on dry erase boards at record stores. Like I worked in record stores, but my favorite was Method Man Tikal. At first it was called Tikal 2, and that didn't come out for like 2 years. Then it was Tikal 2000. That was one I remember. Like and Deck Uncontrolled Substance, man. Oh my God, I was waiting on it.
Stop.
I remember waiting on that
forever. But anyway, yeah. So my thing with L on this record was like playing it, just thinking like, no one I know is gonna like this, and I'm all right with that. Like this is gonna be my thing at the time. So there you go. Small Pro.
Yo.
Hi, you're here.
What up? So Zilla's right. I'm late to the LP train. I feel like I've been a fan since at least 2007. I think I'll Sleep When You're Dead came out that year. Yeah, so that's my starting point for LP. But I'm a great admirer, amazing talent. But yeah, this record I've come back and forth to over the years. And I have to admit, I've been sleeping because upon listening to it now, I'm like, wow, I can see why the Wrecking Crew, everybody really loves this album and holds it in such high regard.
Well, and that's what's so interesting about this album and sort of the mythos of LP, because it's definitely, if you were investing in the hip hop stock game, then LP is definitely a good thing to have invested in early. But I think to Zilla's point that he made earlier, it definitely was a bit of a line in the sand at that point. And I remember, I think I was only vaguely familiar with Company Flow at the time that this record dropped. Like I definitely had heard some of the songs. I remember, Patriotism on the Bombing 2 soundtrack. And for me, this whole era, like Def Jux was like me trying acid for the first time. That it totally changed the way that like I thought what the rules were, what music could be. But to that point, I remember that it was my freshman year of college that all these records started coming out. And I remember visiting a friend in the next city over. It was like a 3-hour drive. And he was first up on all this Def Jux stuff. So he was playing me the Aesop Rock, Labor Days and the Daylight EP. Yeah. He was playing me LP. He was playing me, the Cannibal Ox record. And I remember listening to this stuff and being like, this shit is not good, bro. Like this
shit is a frequency.
That was your plug. Oh, everybody had a plug. That was your plug.
We gonna have fun. So the funny thing is, my homeboy Jay Cross, shout out my boy Jay Cross. I had never heard of Def Jux. I never heard of LP. I never heard of Ace. I never heard of none of these motherfuckers at all. And my homeboy moved from Florida to New York or to Jersey. And for like a year. And when he came back on some like he had been all up in Stretch and Bob's show every night. So he comes back and he's like, yo, he was my man who put me on Doom and he put me on LP and he put me on all stuff, right? But here's what, to Sean's point, and this is, again, a perspective from somebody who was just in a hip hop zone at the time. Like, you had to think how crazy it was to never hear none of this stuff, and then somebody comes and they're like, yo, peep this. And I'm like, what is this white boy shit, man? Like, I'm not with this white boy shit. And that was my response to this. It was like, yo, I'm not with all this white boy shit. Like, this shit sounds like nerd rap, bro. I like cool rap. Like, this shit ain't cool. And that was always my take on it early. Like, it's funny because Doom is like probably, if not my favorite MC all time, right there. But from him putting me on Doom, it took a long time for me to like Doom.
Right.
So peep my science. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm growing up in Brooklyn in the 90s. Boot camp clique run the world. I should see them when I would go to high school. I'd see them walking out. I'm going to school. They going the opposite way. Coming out of studio session or something.
And that was the underground sound. That was the sound of the aesthetic of the underground.
Exactly. But I used to bump into cats like Busta Rhymes. I'd see Old Dirty Bastard, just being in Brooklyn and shit. These are random, just seeing them in the street. But my point is, that was, to even Zilla's point, that's what hip hop was in Brooklyn.
That's what it was.
Who are these cats? That's what it first. I was one of them guys. I came up. We used to question Mobb Deep. Who are these youngsters? Are they real gangster? So when Def Jux and them came around and Company Flow, it's me. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I used to question Mobb Deep. So who are these cats?
Yeah.
And it didn't take long once I listened to it. Again, it was one of those like solo endeavors. Like my boys wasn't bumping this. I couldn't, sit down, y'all. This wasn't a Biggie record or a Wu-Tang record. Nobody wanted to listen to it with me. It definitely was my headphone music, and this is when I really got into headphones.
LP, I'm gonna keep it a buck though. Like, this isn't one of my favorite albums of all time. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? And it's partly because it's like I love the artistry of it, but it's hard to listen to because there's a lot fucking going on all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like it's like a fucking train wreck of sounds all the time, right? So like it's tough. And then even the way it's mixed is interesting. Like the way it's mixed, and then the fact that LP rapped the way he rapped back then. I mean, he kind of still raps like that, but it's like I gotta listen to these songs like 37 times so I even know what the fuck is going on these records.
There are still songs on this album that I don't get. Like that, and
there's vocals clashing. He used to rap over top of himself.
Yeah,
I used to think it was a skill back then, but then I was like, and then I learned more recording tricks and shit. And I'm like, okay. But I used to always be wonders about when you write over yourself, because there was plenty of LP parts where he's rapping over himself. So I'm like, when you're writing, did you have a little thing in the margin where you're like, I'm gonna say this part? There was like overdubs that were actually lyrics. It's clashing with itself. There's a lot going on.
It's difficult. So when you say that, like, you couldn't really play it for your boys, like, I get that, because it's not so now I can put myself in my boy's position when he was playing it for me. And he's like, yo, Pete, this is not something that you just, Pete, this. It don't play like that.
Right.
You gotta introduce your man to it. You gotta set them down in the cat. Like, it was a whole conversation.
My friend in college one time shut me down when we were all like drunk hanging out. He goes, "No time for your math rap."
But it is a slow burn. It is a slow burn. And what I do remember, that when I did eventually come around to it, and then all of a sudden this was pretty much only the shit that I wanted to listen to. But I remember like the sticker that I saw at like the record store, definitive Jux, because motherfuckers are bored. And all of a sudden it made sense. I was like, yo, this totally speaks to me, because I was getting bored with all of the exalted figures in hip hop that at the time were the standard. And all of a sudden, as it started it didn't feel as progressive. It seemed like it was just sort of repeating a lot of the same tropes, or some of these artists were making like, reaches for a more commercial sound and not really speaking to, what I was enjoying, as the Mobb Deeps maybe went a little bit more commercial with like some of like the singles and stuff like that. I was just like, nah, fuck that. And all of a sudden this weird abrasive music started making more sense to me. And I think that kind of mirrors.
Y'all know where my bridge was? My bridge was a little organized confusion.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because they were underground, but they were a little established on a higher label back then. Yeah. And they took my attention. I needed to pay attention when I listened to them, as opposed to playing DOS effects in the background. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're getting right. I could say that, with my eyes closed, but like, I remember organized. So LP was like more of that.
Right. So when the record came out, the record was released in 2002 on May 14th. It was probably the 5th or 6th record, I want to say, released on the Def Jux label. It was obviously preceded by the Cannibal Ox, Cold Vein, Aesop Rock's first LP on Def Jux Labor Days. Normally we try to rate these things and look back to what the source says. I don't think that the source reviewed this record, believe it or not.
Herb definitely did. This was like Herb's wheelhouse.
All Music gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. NME gave it 8 out of 10. Pitchfork gave it 8.9 out of 10. Rolling Stone gave it 3.5 out of 5. Spin gave it 9 out of 10. So, for me also, I'll say, to just build on one more comment that MidaZ said, I really enjoy this record. I know a lot of LP diehards that this is the best, most, pure, unrefined version. This is not my favorite LP record. I think that, in my opinion, he learned how to master a lot of the styles. And if you really look at it, a lot of his records are almost formulaic in a way that, like, the first song is this, the second song or third song is the single, then he's got the feature on the 6th song, then he's got like the more emotional song, track 9 or 10. Yes. But I think he started getting better at this. So I do appreciate this record. I think that he definitely got better, and I think even he would say that. I think that like this is sort of a everything in the kitchen sink approach to record making, and that's what. And
I also bunch this record. I don't know if y'all do that. Like this and Bazooka 2 kind of go together, and even Cold Vein in a sense. Like I bunched them together, and then you see the second wave, whereas Aesop's second record is more refined, the same way as our Sleep out there.
But here's the thing we're forgetting: the post 9/11 nature of this album.
Yeah,
this was the perfect time, and they were the perfect guys to do it. To be full of angst and fear and calamity and abrasiveness, like you guys said. Like, think about how we all felt October 2001 to when this album came out. Everything was scary, freaking out, George Bush, all that. Like, his album being so jarring, even like MidaZ was saying about the mix, like his vocals are mixed way below the beat.
Yeah, way below the beat.
So you have to like squint the whole time to hear what he's saying. But I think he did that deliberately to be like, it's about the percussion, it's about the chaos. I didn't live in New York at the time. I still don't live in New York, but I feel like this is his New York in that headspace of that time. And then as you move further away from 9/11 and he moves on in his life, things get like a lot more simple with his production, if that makes sense, and his rhyme style and the mix and all that.
And what's interesting too is that the album was written and mostly recorded before 9/11 too. So it does do a great job at capturing. Yeah. So in the source did not review it, but in our own sort of source scale, the 5 mic system, where do we rank this record currently as it is?
4. I give it 4 mics.
I am at a solid 3.5.
I give it a 4. I think it's a 4 mic record for me. Yeah.
So the goal here is to butcher it to see how close we can get it to 5.
In 2002, I would have said 4.5, but now I do say 4. I say 4.
Yeah. I probably would have ranked it a little bit higher at that point too. But even still, it wasn't I definitely preferred like Cold Vein and some of the other.
You know what's funny about preferring Cold Vein? Because in revisiting this album, I revisited this. This has been, you guys set me up because this has been a little jarring for me because you brought back a lot of like things that I was like, I'll never have to do this again. And then we're doing this
smoking
again.
dust on a train or something.
Yeah, it's similar.
I didn't know there was options. I was only presented basically fantastic.
No. I'm just saying the thing that's interesting about it is like I love the production on this record. I love the production on the Cold Vein. But I'm not here for LP raps. Like I could just do without him. Like he doesn't do it for me on the mic, right? So 50% of the record is rough for me because I don't know what he's talking about. I don't even understand it.
I'm a counteract that.
Castro, Curly Castro.
Around then, you know what I'm saying? First of all, this is my favorite MC of all time. And what happened with LP and me was I was rapping like that back then. And when I heard him, it emboldened me. I'm right. Yeah. I'm not wrong. I can rap this way and I can get away with it. And I remember just hearing, now I've changed my style 2-fold, 20, 30-fold since then. But back then when I was rapping, he definitely emboldened me and empowered me to be like, yo, you're not going in the wrong direction. You have some work to do. You know what I'm saying? But you're not going in the wrong direction. And so it definitely was a frequency thing, the same way that I remember people didn't even want to hear A$AP Rock because they didn't want to go through the mental gymnastics of just,
one that I never
just listening.
Frequency on A$AP.
But the same way, like I'm West Indian, so the same way some people's mentals don't want to take time for patois is the same way that A$AP Rock goes over people's heads. It's just a frequency. It's not necessarily a vocabulary. Yeah. Some of the words are very rudimentary. It's definitely a frequency. The same way I knew a cat. I went to college with a cat that could do Busy Bone verses verbatim. And I'm sitting there. I'm just catching he could do every word this cat knew. I knew and that's because, like that too. But he tuned into them and got their frequency and he could just do it like it was nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Same way people can do Twister verses or Do and Die verses. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not just trying to get the listener to understand. It's not just about speed rap. It's about listening at that frequency with how much words are hitting you at that time period and being invested enough to catch it and not be annoyed by it. And where some people want Project Pat. Project Pat is an easy listen. You know what I'm saying?
I'd also say too that both L and Ace have even changed and matured their frequency in a way that for A$AP, for me, it's even more apparent. Like I really got to a point and I loved all the records as they came out. I don't go before None Shall Pass anymore. Like I just don't listen.
Yo, I just watched Freeze. And oh my God, that's such a complicated song. I just watched the video. Ron Sayers threw them back up for some reason. Yeah. Freeze is like, whoa, like you gotta.
That's right here.
And I love Freeze, but I remember that was a single of his for Bazooka Tooth.
Yep.
But it was so heady. How could that be the single? But they was pushing it down people's throats.
Yeah, but I think that his voice and his writing style definitely changed and got a little bit easier to digest, but not in a way that felt compromised. And I think the same thing happened with L too, as the records went on. And then you look at the Run the Jewels stuff. Yes, he obviously still, compared to Killer Mike, sometimes LP does sound like A$AP Rock might have sounded to people in 2002. But if you compare the verses then to the verses now, it's a lot easier to digest. And
he's cleaned it up a little bit, a lot of it, to make it a little bit easier to digest because it's a mixture between the fact that the mix, like Zilla was saying, puts his vocals
wasn't easy,
the beat, and he's doing all that other stuff, like rapping over top of himself and having all that delay on everything he said. It was too difficult to understand. So, and this is coming from a guy whose favorite rapper was like Method Man, who's mad easy to understand, right? So like it turns on its head. But I would go 3-5, and we're gonna have fun with the edit.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to start with the first song. Obviously, all these songs are produced by LP. And the first song is the title track. It is Fantastic Damage. I mean, he wasn't easing into it. It certainly
he wasn't easing into it. Fuck, yo, just right quick, and then I'm gonna let you guys really eat it. Yo,
and hold on. We should also say that the format on this episode is we've asked the Wrecking Crew to come up with a collective answer so that we can still keep the 3-man, voting.
Yeah, got it.
So yeah,
look,
go ahead, MidaZ.
The drum programming on that record, fam. Every time that shit comes on, it's like.
So like me and Zilla in particular, we're in Philly. So when you talk drums, everybody, Amir Questlove and Quest, he would augment his drums, and I knew about this because I knew people who work with him. He would go get beat up drum sets or weird literally pots and pans to get different drum sounds. And I remember listening to their stuff, and they were like one of the people that, oh my God, they doing something with their drums. And then LP come with his drum. And I know it's a different wizardry with the programming and the production that he did 80s. As opposed to like the live stuff that Quest was doing. But I remember this being like, yeah, one of these is better than the other.
Yeah, I remember someone saying, I can't remember who, so I don't know who to attribute it to, but it was back when, Dilla was still with us. But the person said, if Dilla is a god of drums, LP is Satan.
Yes.
Hey, that's ill. Can I say this too about that? And Sean, like you were saying before about like how things were stale. Everyone, I think at that time, underground was like all making fake Premier beats. Fake Premier everywhere. When you go back to a lot of those records, they don't stand up because everyone's doing a Premier beat with the Premier hook. Like, I'm the illest, the realest, real hip hop. And then I bring it back from the Bronx.
You need to do a joint where you just do the hook like that. I'm the illest.
So and the illness about the fake Premiers was Premier had the ear. And when you watch those things he does now, he had lyrics memorized where he knew exactly where to go get stuff. We just kind of grab a potluck. When I make them, I'm just like, he had it really locked in. That's the difference.
What L did was like, you love Premier and Pete Rock. I love Said G. That's who I like. And his shit is like 80s B-boy drums. And no one was touching that. It's all 80s. You know what I mean? And then like when COVID first hit and I was playing like old rap albums, I either never listened to the full album or hadn't heard in 20, 30 years. When I was playing the first two Fat Boys albums, I was texting, I was like, this is LP's whole shit, is the first two Fat Boys albums. Production wise, big drums. So like even in the raucous lane with being on patriotism, on sound bombing, he's next to High Tech. He's next to Reflection Eternal, Most Def.
88 Keys,
like
Geology.
Fat Boys drums. No one's touching Fat Boys drums.
Nobody was doing his. Yep, he was definitely the different
Keys,
producer
Sean J. Period.
of all of them. Yep.
Like Prem said, he's like, I am Satan. Go hide. You know, like brimstone.
That's crazy.
That's all I love about the first one.
So are we keeping this? Or we?
Yeah, we're keeping Fan Dam. That's the craziest one.
All right,
I had an idea.
Real quick, I do have to cape a bit for abilities. If you listen to the instrumental, then you know exactly how much he did on this. He did an insane amount. That whole is all turntables. So if you take the DJ out of that song, it's literally boom, 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 boom. That's it. I'm telling you. Go back and check it. I think you can't get
fingerprints all over the record. DJ Abilities played a huge part of that. So we got a vote to keep for the Wrecking Crew. MidaZ, what say you?
Cut that. No, I'm fucking with y'all. That's definitely a keep. Again, I talk a lot about the importance of the beginning of your record. Like the first song the first thing you hear has to set the tone. It has to say what we doing, what we out here doing. And if this motherfucker didn't show you what he was doing on this first record, I mean, this is all of it in one shit.
Demarcation line. Do you want to press? Do you want to hit skip after this? You want to throw it out the window? That's it.
Yeah, and if you coming like me, like if you coming from Info Kill 2, right? Like you're going, oh, this ain't Info Kill 2, bro. Like this is different. You know what I mean? Because like for a long time, it's funny. For a long time, Info Kill 2 is my favorite Def Jux. Well, it wasn't really a Def Jux joint, but type in that era, it was my favorite joint that came out of that whole camp. The remix, the joint with the right? So like if you cut, like for me coming out of that to
on some cold flow shit.
Yeah,
on some cold flow shit.
This right here though was a no. This is what we doing. This is what we doing. You know what I mean? And I fuck with it. So definitely keep.
It's a keep for me too, although I will say it is a song that when I do put this album on, I don't always listen to because of the long intro. So sometimes I just skip it because like sometimes I just want that fan damn hit, and like that's usually in the second or third song. But yes, like you'd be remiss to cut this intro out. It's definitely like the call to action, the state of the union of the record. This is going to be abrasive, loud, uncomfortable, dense, and you're either going to love it or hate it. And, you know, that's why it's a keep for me. So we're going to move on to the second song. It's Squeegee Man Shooting.
1985, got red top live, and it was 10 to the decibel, my lifelong pride. So I was part of the pack, part of that's fact. I stole part of a track, started a rap, map the road. Try to explain, okay, the contract refrain. Hardly a game.
This is where the train hits the third rail and we start rolling, yo. All the spelling in there and shit. You know what I'm saying? L-P, remember. This shit is like, this is MK Ultra T. This is hypnotizing. Remember, you hearing all the shit in the background?
It's one of the joints that has where his raps are easier to understand for me too. So, but you know what I mean? Like, as great of a song as it is, I think part of what even makes it better on the record for me is like, I get this one. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm with the shit.
Let my mother buy me bootleg since, and it was 1985.
Yeah. And this is if you're a New Yorker, a transplant or born there, this is where it kicks off for you. This is New York. Like I said, this feels like the train's rolling out the station now. You know what I'm saying? And
you know, there's a bit of a like historical kind of political with this, right? This was when like an actual like homeless got shot by the cop. Yeah. By the cop, yep. But like it's all intertwined with like growing up in Brooklyn, so you don't even have to know that to totally be like, or you don't have to be from Brooklyn, obviously, to like be like, this is nostalgia, and you know the beat's kind of banging, and the hook is like actually catchy. You know, it stays with you. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys ever hear the original version?
Yes, I do remember the original version. It's on the Fandom Plus. Yeah. Do you know the story of why they didn't go with the original version? I don't, so I don't know if it's
very. It's a very LP beat on the. You know what I mean? The original.
1985, got red top live, and it was 10 to the decibel, my lifelong pride. So I was part of the pack, part of that's fact. I stole part of the track, started the
It's a little more like video gamey, I would say. But I really like it. I feel like this episode is going to have MidaZ sweating the most out of all the episodes we've done, because I know your relationship with this record, and every time I drop one of the cues in, all of our heads are going crazy, and I see you doing it, but you're kind of like, oh, yeah, this is...
Oh, no, listen.
You're like, I'd rather listen to Cal. Where's the Cal?
Listen, because with a lot of these records, like, I'll have a big relationship with a lot of these records, and, like, I'll be looking at Sean like, oh, I know you didn't really fuck with this. You know what I'm saying? So we get to play both sides. But this is a record that's interesting because it's not that I don't fuck with it. I just don't get it all the time.
Right.
And that's one of those, it's an odd dichotomy, but I love it because it represents an era to me where I didn't even know, you got to understand, like, I got put onto Def Jux, and Doom simultaneously. Like, I had never heard of any of it before. And then I heard of all of it at the same time, right? And I was like, what the fuck is all this weird-ass, like...
That's what I did with
heard
Kool
no
Keith.
raps like this before.
I went to academia. I studied Kool Keith like 4 years. Like, I knew Papa Large, I knew Ultra Mag, but I had to take my time with each piece. And that's what I did with Kool Keith. You know what I'm saying? Got into Black Elvis, you know, I really studied Kool Keith. It took me some years to like, oh shit, this guy, you know, and by the time Prince Amongst Thieves drops, I figured out the Keith rubric. You know what I'm saying? I could understand that.
Small side. What do you think of this beat? I'm just curious.
Oh man, every song, I feel like the drums are 80s but futuristic at the same time. Like they all have this bounce to them, but yeah, it all always sounds beat up, but futuristic at the same time. That's the only way I can describe it.
I feel like that's the
Blade Runner slums.
Yeah.
Blade Runner slums.
Runner slums.
So I do love this song, and I do think it has like probably one of the stronger hooks. Gonna be honest, in my short list that I made, I did indicate that this was a cut for me, and only because remember, guys, there's 16 songs. We got to cut this down to 10. So 6 are going to have to go.
Gotta cut 6.
And it's not that I don't like this song, but I just also think that when it comes to like the hard-hitting intro smack you in the face, we kind of already got that with the first song. But that is my vote. I defer to the rest of the group to decide what the fate is. Wrecking Crew, what say you?
Wrecking Crew votes keep.
Keep it.
It's a keeper.
Yeah. Keep. Might as well vote keep as well.
All right, then we're keeping it. I'm not mad at it. There's only like maybe one song on here that I like have strong feelings of dislike for.
I like how when you were working on your list by yourself, you indicated that it was a cut.
I strongly recommended for myself to cut it.
Yeah. I try to be fair with myself. I have a whole committee that I have to consult with. Yeah. But we're going to move on to the third track then. It's Deep Space 9mm.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
You're behind the walls and you roam. You want to buy the farm, but the land's not yours to own. Who owns police? Who holds full green, so sand the beach?
Put this shit in a fucking museum. Like, preserve this behind glass. This to me is just fucking perfect. It's fucking perfect.
When you call a song Deep Space 9mm, I know who you are. I get you. I understand it. I'm with it.
And Deep Space, and it's coming from a Trekkie, admitted Trekkie. I love Star Trek. Original ones. If people don't realize Star Trek was only on for like 2 seasons, they just made so many episodes, you think it was on for like 8 seasons. Right. Then it went away. Then Star Trek Next Generation came on, and it was on like Channel 11. It was like one of the first. Yeah, it was like, you start seeing commercials like, oh God, they bringing back Star Trek? You crazy? This is 89, y'all 88. Trust me, I'm aging myself. And then that came on Star Trek Next Generation. And the point I'm saying is Deep Space Nine wasn't as good at first. You know, it had a black captain. Nobody was fucking with it. But then LP did this song and shit. And then I think the show took off.
If he was like that nerd rap, math rap shit, it would be called like, you know, like Constellation NASA or some shit. He called it Deep Space 9mm. And I'm like,
yeah, that's a great song title.
Can we talk? Do we have to talk about the video, or that's just in lore? We just understand that that's one of the.
We can talk
one of the illest videos I've ever seen in my life.
Period.
Yeah, love it.
I bought a trucker hat because of that video. I was like, I'm wearing that.
By the way, Curly, I'm with you. I don't fuck with the recasting from white to black of anything. So my man, or black to white to anything. Listen, they are who they are. My man was telling me, he was like, yo, the next Batman should be black. No, the fuck he shouldn't. The next Batman should be white because Batman is white, bro. Like, that's what the fuck.
What about Catwoman?
We listen. Catwoman,
there was 2 Catwomen. There was 2 Catwomen.
People of the race that you need them to be. You know what I'm saying?
Cats are different.
There was Eartha Kitt.
Sometimes with cats, like, you know, in a litter there'll be different color
Great.
cats in a litter, so it's sort of more ambiguous there.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah, this fucking song is so great. The production is immaculate to me. It's so classic. I mean, I think it's just like we talked about the hook on the previous song, but I also think that despite the fact that there's like not really a chorus to this, and
right
like,
here, holding my nuts,
and it's got like
right
a minute long intro before the rapping even starts, but it still feels like the most like sort of digestible to me. Like there's a reason why it was the single, and even when you listen to it, I think it sort of distinguishes itself as being just easier to grab onto, I think, at least.
The first like 40-50 seconds is no rhyme and nothing. It's just a beat and scratches.
I love it as like a
scratches are crazy on those
LP. Yeah, 100%. As an LP stan at the time, I didn't love it as a lead single, but like as time went on, I'm like, yeah, this shit is.
But this is his arrogance is in full display on this song. He literally is holding his nuts when he's rapping on it the way he's
saying. The B-side is like the least accessible song on the whole record, which we'll get to, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also,
when he says like you want to hold hands with the sicko malnutritionist, what's he said? Sicko
soaked in
newspeak.
Soaked in newspeak.
Yeah,
that shit is. I remember listening to shit being like, I'm in college at the time. I'm like, I read those books he's talking about, but he says this shit in like a rotten, like snotty way to let you know he's smart. But he said like, but holding his nuts. So he's talking like George Orwell shit, Star Trek shit, all that. But he's like, I'm going to thank God for the drugs and drums. You know what I mean? Like that shit is crazy.
Can't save the children. We weren't worth the effort. Like what the fuck?
But then even doing the Phil Hartman, I'm a caveman. Your modern ways frightened and confuse me. Like I watch a Spirit Box, like talk about SNL skits from the 80s.
Yeah.
Like
no caveman.
No caveman.
You know what I mean? And then, the raucous shit, sign of raucous,
I mean, that's
I'd rather be mouth fucked by Nazis unconscious. You want to talk about a line of demarcation?
Like most quotable line for at least 5 years, I would say.
Absolutely.
Because at that point, nobody knew that Raucous had cracks in the armor. And he was one of their lead artists. And he said, fuck all this. And I know why, because after and Burners, it was supposed to be so much after that. And Raucous totally dropped the ball after that.
If you think about Run the Jewels real quick, he's like carried on that flame of like, what are the most interesting ways to say fuck you? Like he's starting, you know what I mean? Like these first couple of records, he's going back to that now. Like run backwards. What do you say? Like run backwards to a field of dicks or some shit.
A field with your dick out or something like that.
Yeah,
like a field of wheat.
I mean,
it's crazy.
Being mouth fucked by Nazis unconscious got to be like.
I'd rather be.
I mean, I guess
that's what I'm saying. One of the worst things you can do.
I guess if I were to get mouth fucked by Nazis, I'd want to be unconscious. So I guess like I'd rather not be awake for it, but I'd still prefer not to do it at all. Yeah, that was also another sort of like distinguishing. Like, wait, like this guy's dissing Raucous. Raucous Records is like the coolest record label in the world. Like it's
by Mos Def.
I know it's the most underground shit that exists, and then it's like, nah, that's not underground. This is underground. Like, what the fuck?
Man said they just put out. Oh no!
It was like Inception before Inception. We're like, oh shit, there's another layer. Oh yeah, we got to go deeper. And he was like, yo, the elevator's going further down when he would write those lyrics and spit them like that. Yo,
that's got the best drum fills like in a decade on that shit.
Crazy.
Oh my god,
so many sounds.
Yeah, stacked.
Yeah,
it's a keep. It's a keep for me.
Then across the board, right?
Keeper.
Unanimous keep.
Come on, yes.
All right, then we're moving on to track 4, Tune Mass Damper.
Off of the dome, shit, I'm off of the phone, off of the couch, off track, out at OTB with a stub and a hard burger, a flask and a fanny pack, a bastard on any track. Daddy needs a new Megatron.
It's so funny how like even the screaming sample is kind of louder than his vocals are. You know, when you're listening to it, it's so dense.
A flask and a fanny pack, a bastard on any track. Come on.
Take the line before that.
So on the whole album.
So like when he mentions OTB, my dad used to take me to the OTB. Those are like these little like storefront you could bet on horse race, and it would write like just like any store. You go in there, and there'd be all these ripped tickets on the ground. And these people in their lost dreams, this guy in the corner leaned up against the wall, just shivering because he doesn't want to go home. So when he mentioned like OTB, like he's like hitting like New York, like iconography. If you're of that time and you lived around there, it just starts hitting you different. Like I remember that line, the OTB line. And my dad used to take me there, the Valley of Lost Dreams and shit. Nobody wants people with the rolled up newspapers. It was just like it wasn't an Archie Bunker show.
This is I will say this. This is as New York a record as there ever was. I mean, to me, like, this is not any less a New York record than Illmatic actually is. This is a New York record. You listen to it and it feels like New York. It feels like a section of New York. It feels like a part of New York. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the same part of New York that Bucktown, USA is, but it feels like New York. So yeah, bro, like it's as New York as Spider-Man in this motherfucker. You know what I mean?
And G-Rap comes on and says, "You're not promised tomorrow." I mean,
promise tomorrow.
Unbelievable.
This is a Mobb Deep beat.
Yeah. I never got this in the beginning. I never like really fully understood this song. And then as I got older, I was like, yeah, this is so banging. Lyrics, beat, everything, sample, the Cool G-Rap coming in, tying it together, like, yeah. So,
yeah, it's one of my favorite beats on the whole record.
What's a tune mass damper, Castro or Smalls?
What is it?
Yeah, sci-fi.
Oh, it's I forget, but it's like some machinery that does something. It might be a Philip K. Dick.
Actually, it helps buildings not fall over. It's like
there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
It's an architecture thing where I think it prevents skyscrapers from like toppling over.
Right, like it literally dampens the mass from destroying.
That said, I'm still not really clear on what the song is about. Like I sort of, there's some crumbs there, but there's definitely songs, MidaZ, just to reinforce your point here. I've been listening to this record for 20 years and there's some lyrics that I just don't understand, or I'm not, sometimes it's a feel, sometimes I see that there's a general theme, but I think his style got a little less abstract as the years went on.
What makes it difficult, because you see, when you listen to some records, like, all right, if you listen to Black, what's the D'Angelo record? Black
Messiah.
Listen to Black Messiah, right? Like, you don't understand shit that he's saying on Black Messiah. Like, I met a motherfucker who knows the lyrics to those songs on Black Messiah and shit. But it's because you can't understand them, right? So what LP does here that I think is kind of bugged out is he does all the things at once. It's not only can I not understand it, even if I could understand it, I might not be able to understand it. Right? Like it's so layered, it's so dense. And then it's all that density wrapped under a low mix and some of the other things where it's like, first you're just going, what did he say? Then when you finally figured out what he said, you're like, what the fuck does that mean? I don't even know what that means, right? So there's a couple layers to that shit. So I do get it on that note.
I think on this song, it's like a loose structure of like, kind of like his origins and like, like You're Not Promised Tomorrow. A lot of very much him growing up in New York. And I think like, and his like, defenses or defense mechanisms to like punch you in the shit because that's where he's from. He's from Brooklyn. But like when I hear this song now as like a grown artist, I think it's kind of like there's a canopy, and then underneath the canopy is like all these like, phrases and kind of poetic ramblings about that same topic. Like, you're not going to topple me ever, and I'm not promised tomorrow. And Cool G-Rap is favorite rapper.
and the beat switch, dog. That beat switch
at the end. When it goes into that Vandella shit. When it goes in that van, like I'm saying, it's like Blade Runner slow.
There's a few of those on this record where they definitely flip it up for the second half of the song, and like just when you thought it couldn't get more intense, it's like, oh, this actually isn't even the full spectrum of the roller coaster. Now it's about to get really, really fucking crazy. So, what's our vote here, folks? Are we keeping or cutting?
Keeper. This one's a keep. It's one of my favorite beats on the record, and that sample, the vocal sample is crazy. I know that record. This is the keep.
Yeah, that's a keep for me too.
Real quick, that vocal sample. Real quick, I never thought of it. Real quick, that vocal sample was like evil Timbaland, bro. That's evil Timbaland. When he sampled the baby crying, he sampled a dude like falling off a cliff. What you saying?
Evil Timbaland.
Evil Timbaland.
That G-Rap sample from Streets of New York?
Satan beats with evil Timbaland.
I'm not sure.
I don't know G-Rap enough.
I think it's from Streets of New York. You're Not Promised Tomorrow, which I think is like kind of a, it makes.
Yep, makes sense.
Yep.
Guys, all
right, so then we're moving on to track 5. It's Dead Disney.
Retarded on a boombox frame. With all the funny little games on dead. Rush said he didn't like the name. Try to tell me that my people's on death. Rebels build a pattern.
That is a hard beat to try to rap to, bro.
I think they like the 80s shit. You know, the block was set. You know what I mean? Salt and pepper shit. He was doing like salt and pepper.
Yeah.
The 80s, man. Everything is 80s.
Hey, so
Seriously.
that's my first cut. Get it the fuck out of there. Go away
The
from me.
Wrecking Crew concurs.
All right, let's talk
bro.
about it. What's the reasoning?
And it starts with the I can't even do that in the beginning. As soon as it comes on, I'm like, bro, this shit's I'm done with this one. So that's my first cut. You know what's funny? We've made it how many songs now with all agreements? Sean, this don't happen very often, bro.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, let's see where Sean is at. Hold on. Where you at?
My vote was to keep it. I always enjoyed this song. Like, and I also think it is like, certainly from a more outside perspective, it's kind of easier to latch onto. You get it pretty quickly, like, oh, he's referencing Disney characters, but he's talking about fucked up things that he's going to do to Disney characters, or this sort of weird, evil Disneyland. It's funny. I don't consider LP, especially in the canon of rappers who might have been, categorized in underground rap at the time, he doesn't really make evil music. He wasn't doing like horrorcore music or anything, but it does all sort of have the evil, the tones and the evil
he's very like sardonic. He's like a bastard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So my vote was to keep it. But I understand also, we've kept every song on the album so far, so we are going to have to start cutting. Also want to give a shout out to the Def Jux remix of this song that had all the Weatherman. Yeah, copyright, Vast Air.
Oh, I need to hear that.
Yak Balls? I think Yak's on it.
I think Yak Balls was on there as well.
Did we get a I don't know that song. So did we get a Camuteo on that?
I think so. I
assume it's a Weatherman remix.
Weatherman. The song actually, the remix is way better, I think. Just to hear all those different dudes getting crazy on this joint. But
yeah,
same beat.
Yeah, same beat. Yeah, same beat. It was Cage, Camus, Copyright, and Vast.
I gotta go check that out.
Yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah, I do want to hear that.
That's on the Fandom Plus CD.
On his door and I hit him in the neck with the taser.
I'm straight shitting, names I'm straight spitting. Fuck subliminal, my aim and ain't missing. The strangler, rape rhythm, and bang deranged women. Living dead, leaving strangers brain spitting.
Run out on the crowd in a show.
Which reminds me that Copyright was actually the first MC that people put on my radar from this world, because I remember I was rhyming in school already. I started rhyming when I was 10 at school, right? So I was already rhyming, and I remember this kid came to me like, yeah, but you can't rap like Copyright. And I was like, who the fuck is that? And then I remember listening to it, and I was like, oh, this guy's really good. It's like he's pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a kid at the time, and I was like, damn, this guy's pretty good. So yeah, I had totally forgot.
Wow. Yeah, so we're cutting Dead Disney.
Have to.
That's a cut.
That's
I'm not mad at it. Like I said, I'm pretty amenable to a lot of cuts on this record. There's songs that I really love, songs that I fuck with, and then only a couple that I feel like gotta go.
Okay.
This hasn't been stated yet in a pod, so I have to say it just as a baseline for what we do. As crazy as I am about track lists, which I am crazy about track lists, Sean has no heart. And Sean was the one of the main editors of AU, my first album that I put out. Sean sat with me and butchered my fucking creation, which was my first album of like my whole heart and soul and everything goes into this. And then Sean was like, yeah, tracks 8 through 12 can just go. I was like, what the fuck, bro?
That's
like,
a good friend.
Yo, like Sean was rough on me during that era. So, you know what I mean? I had to bring that up.
I've been upsetting rappers for a very long time. I've had MidaZ and other people say to me like, yo, man, when you like just nodded your head and kind of like hinted at a smile, that really meant a lot to me because you never say you like shit. I'm just like, man, am I a fucking ogre or something? But
nah, bro, you're like the Russian police, stern but fair.
I'm going to start using that as my intro tag.
Russian
this
police.
is Sean Kantrowitz, Russian police. Y'all know what it is.
Stern but fair.
All right, we're going to move on to track 6. It is the Aesop Rock featuring DeLorean.
Snaggletooth, fabulous spot, Freddy Krueger, finger discount list. You ready dismount, spin out of control, the Dr. Basics. Bladed cicada wings offer awkward face, laser to face.
Flash, common fragments, battle cruise, Catalooze, fabulous four-finger ringer, backflip, discount mechanism, sex distortion.
LP flipped out.
Hey man, I don't fuck with Aesop Rock. That's a cut.
Hey man, you realize like
You on your own there,
one
brother.
of my top 3
Hey,
dudes
listen, I'm listen.
breathing this planet.
I was just letting it be known. Look, to Curly's point, it's not my frequency, bro. He don't sit on my frequency. So it's one of those things where a lot of these rappers that are really, really, really good, who you don't get at some point, you get them.
Yep.
Right as you age. Aesop is not one of them. I never got it.
You gotta listen to Skeleton, dog.
I'm gonna make you a mixtape. I'm gonna make you a mixtape of like the tracks that I think will digest better. And I would never put DeLorean anywhere in the top 50.
I would
like,
not. I would not do that.
His voice does not sound like this anymore. His writing style does not sound like this anymore. The way he records is not. You know, you also have to keep in mind. And I remember, I think Aesop Rock talked about this on the only podcast he's ever done, to my knowledge, when he did Open Mike Eagles podcast. He was talking about how the era of Pro Tools, when Pro Tools was new and everybody had access to it, and now all of a sudden rappers had access to doing more tracks, and more dubs and more ad-libs. And like, I remember him saying like, oh, if you mentioned a laser, you had to record a track where you went like, pew, pew.
Yeah.
And I think for both L and Ace, that was definitely like the MO of this time. And I don't like that for anything. Even when I listen to old Roots records, like where like, or even like not even old, but we'll say like Phrenology or something like that, or that era where there were a lot of dubs and stuff. I really, as I've gotten older, prefer if it isn't a single take, make it sound as close to a single take as possible. Make it sound like it wasn't, you know, super heavy layered. And yeah, this is like, I understand what you mean. Aesop Rock is one of my favorites, and I also like this song is like Aesop Rock sticking his fucking middle finger up like to the haters. Like this is as Ace Rocky as it's gonna get.
You know what though? It really doesn't do him favors mixing his vocals that low. Like it really makes it difficult to get into two guys going back and forth doing the same type of pattern. And it's like, again, you're like they're double stacking their vocals, and you still can't really get it. And that's like an aesthetic choice.
I'm gonna give you an example. It would be like if RZA did an album with Ninth Prince, right? And they were like, "Let's fucking go back to back on a joint,"
but mix the beat way above us at the same time. What?
Yo, because both of them with like off kilter, off beat, like
come through with the mega forces, with the fortress coming out the porches.
Bro, it'd be like it's cool to have a RZA in the group, but if there were two RZAs in the group, yo, fam,
I'm gonna go to the
about?
alternate Earth with the two RZAs on one. That's amazing.
All right, so we keeping this or we cutting this? I forget what's on our list.
What's up to Sean?
Well, no, hold on. What's your vote?
My vote is cut.
And Wrecking Crew.
That's a keep.
Keep.
All right, so.
Hey, it's about to get ugly in this motherfucker.
This is
think about Aesop, okay? Consider him. This is his only appearance. He's our guy.
Zilla is going to sell you before you even give your shit.
Aesop, bro.
I was about to tell Zilla I've been far less kind to other rappers on this podcast, where like cutting them out like erases them from history of the album. My vote is to keep it. Yes. Although I do find that it is abrasive, and it does sort of like represent to me the things that I liked the least about Aesop Rock. It also has a killer like halftime section in the middle with Ill Bill talking shit.
Get my dick sucked in a strip club by cokeheads.
Hitting you in the head with plastic magnets. Like, come on.
Great Scott. Gotta take it back in the time when
keep.
motherfuckers can rock.
It's a keep.
You gotta cut 6 of these shits, man. 6 of them.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there.
I'll also say
You just cut that Disney.
Yeah, we just cut to Disney. So my vote is to keep it. Also, on that note, it's funny because I went to Genius as well when I was reviewing this one more time just to see if I could soak up any other information. And the lyrics are so dense and indecipherable on this album that you know how at the top of Genius, they'll give you like sort of a summary of what the song is about. Right, For this song, it just says, the DeLorean was a vehicle used in the Back to the Future movies. It doesn't tell you anything about
It's like LP's lyrics. It's like shoulder shrug. Nice.
So, all right, we're keeping it then. Everybody's happy. It's all good, Aesop. We're keeping DeLorean.
Thank you.
88 miles per hour. We're going to move on to
the ending is
track 7 featuring Rob Sonic. It's Truancy.
Juvenile, non-approval, confusion, and Lucy smoking school that abandonment. With great expected movement, tossed itself to the brain, honest and shakily faded in my timeline. Is something honestly understand. Well, that's not a booby trap. I'm amused, stepping on Nike Uptown abuse. Yeah, the darkest blue swoosh, a cathartic.
As New York as L is, and as much as the sound and background is, you listen to a song like this and you're like, it kind of does represent the predecessor to, oh, you're going to work with a guy from the South. This is like
it sounds Southern.
Beat. It does sound Southern. It does sound
swing.
Southern.
Yeah,
the swing.
There's some bounce to it.
You can hear Outkast on that.
He says, I want you to take this label to another level. I'm going to take this level to another label. It's more of that Def Jux flag in the sand. But we, as the Wrecking Crew, we realize that this is redundancy. This is pretty much like Squeegee Man's shooting. Like these things have been covered already.
Yeah.
So this is a cut for us.
The ending is wild.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don?
My vote is a cut as well. It is great. It is solid, but it doesn't provide anything unique that we haven't heard before or are going to hear perhaps again on the album. So despite the fact that I think it does have some great standout lines, I love that ending with those synths that come in at the end and like, Rob Sonic on there. It's a cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not always a big fan of the let me show you that I can rhyme differently. Or like, let me show you that I can rhyme on a different bounce, Steve, that guys do. Not saying that that's what he was doing on this, but I never love it when there's like the one joint on an album that's like, this is bouncy and nothing else on the album does that.
Right.
I kind of don't love when that happens because it seems kind of, I don't know. It just seems kind of like, let me show you a trick that I can do. And, I'm kind of out on that. So this one was a cut for me.
All right, then we're going to move on to the next track. It's track number 8, The Nang, The Front, The Bush, and The Shit.
Son of an obese, burn up and turban, growing the road, rotating bug tunnels, brick Texas. And others modified climate, make nasty tongue blunt. Headshots. We're opposite a chameleon blend, cartoon dreadnoughts. There's this parasite inside my wide test on the track that took over my bone body.
Yeah, so this one is like, and this is also like rock on. This is like Company Flow. This is a continue. When you start seeing the Company Flow poke his head out.
The beat sounds like a Company Flow
stuff.
beat. Now you say that because there's more space to it, and it sounds like a
Jessica be all over this bitch. You know what I'm saying? But like, you definitely see when Company Flow pokes his head back up throughout this stuff. And this is like also conceptual. And I was on my big Platoon, the Full Metal Jacket angle at this point. So I'm all about the anti-establishment war movies. And this is like the soundtrack of that.
Great second beat too, as well. You got the beat switch.
Second beat. Oh.
Yes.
That might be my favorite beat on this album.
The second one, nice.
The second one
sounds like my song. The song I did Owens on Little Robert.
Every time I've ever heard this joint, it's Screwface, bro. It's instant Screwface. Like, it passes the Screwface test. Like, it can't come on where you're not like,
facts.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Man, like, So, strong keep. Strong keep.
Wrecking Crew, what say you?
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Keeper.
I would say that this Yeah, no, this one is a keep for me as well. You know, it really makes me wonder too, like, I wish that there was like a documentary, and I guess there were like some, you know, moments in the Def Jux like DVD, but like I'd love to really see how he was making these beats. And I know that he even listed in the liner notes of the album all of the equipment that he used, but it still doesn't fucking make sense to me. You know, like,
no. This is like Jacob's Ladder on more LSD. Like it's like that type of angle of the war. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the
people that came home with Agent Orange.
Yeah, the word was that it was always, for this record at least, it was the Ensoniq that he'd been using, you know, the EPS.
Yep.
EPS.
Yep.
Yeah, like, you know, as old as the ASR, which has like super limited capacity. But yeah, that was a word was, you know, he made it because it was working. And that's crazy because it's like, could you imagine making these beats on like floppy disk type memory? Like it doesn't, you know.
They'd all catch on fire. They just would like melt.
I mean, yeah.
I just want to say something real quick. That after the beat changes, the bars on that second were Emerson, Lake and Palmer, aka Dirty Larva, spray harder. What a marvelous martyr maker. Like his phrasing has always been so incredible to me because he picks words that are like harsh. Like the actual definition of the words. Like when he says like monster, ancient, makeshift ministry mic on, nervous slur bomb, teleprompter, sights on, laser head, looks like a linguist, fights light fury down roads like a rash and allied forces stranded. Like there's a lot of punch to what he says, and he picks like all these ugly things, but makes it fit somehow. Like even on like the new Billy Woods album when he's going, you know, rhyming with him and Breeze, like he picks things that are like harsh, but he has so much charisma and style with it. You know what I mean? And it's like, he's just always wow with that. Like devolved thug, crawl back in the ocean, Hoppy Horatio, choke on broken potion. Like it's kind of like Ghostface in a way, but it's not like meant to be fly. It's like, again, it's like brutal. Right. But the way he's been doing that since Cold Flow. And I just think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good, that's a really good comparison, though, because it is a lot like Ghostface. This is very similar to the clientele Ghostface, except for it's not. You know, I always tell people that like Rock Marcy rhymes like I can hear the line between Rock and Doom. Like I hear it, right? Like they do the same thing. It's just that the subject matter is very different. You know what I'm saying? And I think that actually fits. Sometimes the subject matter is not very different. Good point.
Right. Yeah, but they were both very street rappers.
Yeah, sometimes the subject matter is not very different, but the technique is very, very similar. And I boil it down to that. It's that Long Island shit, man. It's Long Island shit. But like, it's funny. Like Zilla said that. Like, I do kind of hear the Ghostface science and all of that. Like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. So that's a really good observation.
Oh, he says humid, unhuman brains that bloom tulips, caught between animal thoughts and what was taught by Confucius. That's some Ghostface shit, bro. But that's
niggas with lobster heads.
We'd be remiss not to mention the Ghostface LP song that was on the Prefuse 73 album.
And he smashes Ghostface on that shit.
He does, and then the LP remix, like no disrespect to Prefuse, but the LP remix of the Hide Your Face is like
you've been drafted by the United States.
Yeah, you
Hide
know
Your Face.
Yo, wow, that you brought up Hide Your Face. I fucking hate that song, and I hate that mainly because I hate that beat. That beat's hard. The Prefuse beat.
My piece hold the face the size of place at dinner was masquerade a true story. What happened to the clan? Did I really dodge death? Am I the true Iron Man? Yo, this is Laserface. Up with the funk trust and dance to this. I like sweepy running man stance with my contam.
Yeah, the Prefuse is whack.
I don't even think I've ever heard the LP remix.
You never heard the L joint?
I don't think I
heard the L joint.
The Cosby Kid shit. Right, as soon as you hear that sample, you're like, I know.
Because listen, once a title shows up on my shit and it's trash, it doesn't get revisited. I don't give a fuck. You got right? But good point though. I didn't know there was a remix. I gotta seek that out.
It is you listen to the L remix and like you almost get like a tear like down your face of like what might have been. You know, like is there an alternate world in which L does a whole Ghostface?
All right, I gotta check.
Here we go. Come on, New York, we got y'all niggas up top. Fuck this. New York. Hold me down, niggas. Yo, this is Ghostface Theodore. I'm actually suspicious. Police try to get money and sell my pictures to the Star Ledger.
There's no way Ghostface knows any of these songs exist, any version. He don't remember any. The first one, the second one, the check. He doesn't remember shit.
You know what's so funny about that?
Never heard it in his life.
You could tell on that song that Ghost recorded his vocals first because he's got ad-libs that L is then responding in his ad-libs to Ghost's ad-libs. And it's one of those painful moments where you're like, there's no way. Like L is trying to make it sound like he's responding, but Ghost has never heard L's verse.
He doesn't know this ever came out. He got a check. He got 5 bands and left. He got 5 bands. He did 12 bars, walked out.
Oh my gosh.
Off, we'll have to talk. I was just on a podcast recently and talked about the album 12 Reasons to Die, which in my belief is a Ghostface check album. Like he got the check and peaced out.
Yes.
So Ghostface has a history of getting the check. There's been a couple times. So if he
like Bradley Beal, he's like, the money's right, I'll do whatever you want. I don't give a damn.
The Apollo Brown remix is dope though.
But L don't never mail it in. I mean, L is always gonna L. Every verse, to this day, he's going to go crazy on every verse. I might not get it all the time, but he's never mailing it in. He's always going 110. So
always.
Yeah.
That was next, Sean.
Not only is he mailing it in, but he's like mailing it. He's stepping off the UPS truck. There's 6 dogs, biting on his leg, and he's like, the truck is on fire, and he's handing you your package.
Take this verse I don't care about. Here, take this.
So that was our long and complicated way to say that we're keeping the name, the front, the bush, and the shit. A little Ghostface excursion never hurts. So we're going to move on to the next track. It features Cage and Camuteo. It's Accidents Don't Happen.
Little Billy blunderbuss looking for more recruits. City life is practice, casket, truancy. That's the rule of you and me. Crash on mass lunacy. Friends used to laugh fast, crash little troop on me. Now they check the bags with a staff class and Uzi.
You know what it is? Listening to a lot of these with the headphones on right now too, the lyrics might be more decipherable on top of these beats if you didn't also every 4 bars have like a swooshing effect that like is far louder than anyone else would ever make it. Like, and it's panning from left to right, and it totally adds to the character. But again, just trying to sympathize with people who were put off, as I was when I first heard this record. There's a lot that's kind of working against being deciphered.
To me, this is headphone music, though. Like, you're supposed to listen on your headphones. I don't think LP really made this for you to listen not on your headphones. This is like, put your headphones on and get on the subway and ride from one part of the city to another part of the city type of music. You know what I'm saying? That's the New York in it. That's why I hear so much New York. I hear the subway, and I hear buildings being worked on. And I hear the calamity of like New York. And like, if you've ever spent, which I know a lot of people here have, if you spent nights in New York where you move it around at night, where you go underground and get on the train, and it's hot as shit down there, and you just see 3 rats fighting over some shit. You're like, what is happening? And then they're working on some shit, 2 people arguing over there, and it's just the calamity of New York. Like, New York just be having this energy of like, yo, and that's what this record sounds like. It sounds like New York to me. It sounds like Nas was looking at New York from a poetic standpoint of like, let me tell you what I'm seeing. And like, this record sounds like New York. Like, it sounds like, this is what walking in the subway sound like. You know what I'm saying? This is what getting on the train and people fighting, and you can't go past this yellow tape on this side of the train, and you can't move, and it's throw up in this chair. And it's just, that's what it sounds like to me.
It's ground level. It's very ground level.
Yeah, super.
This is a hard pass for us. We had to shut this one off.
Like a hard pass, like it was difficult for you, or a hard like it was immediate?
We went back and forth about it, but ultimately we were just like,
because the Camuteo verse is tight, but that annoying sound in the back, like you left the TV on at night,
that Casio wristwatch sound,
and that's
like
hard.
That calculator on your shit, that's not.
Yeah, it's bad. And then also like the word y'all was looking for was subterranean. It sounds subterranean. When you coming up right out of the subway, up those steps, you hear all of those conflagration of sounds. The construction over here, the train still running underneath you, people arguing down. You know what I'm saying? That there's a sound bridge, is a little like veil right there. There's a veil right there. When you're coming right up out the train station, you're going out into the outside, you still hear the stuff from underground. And that's what definitely this song sounds like. Sounds like a TV that's broken, it fell down the steps.
There it is.
Yeah, nah, facts. Well, it's funny because this was a keep for me. I love.
Didn't see that coming.
I love the
Prem argued for it. Prem argued, and we went back and forth with this song.
Well, the struggle is like I get it. That fucking sound is the worst. Like, get that shit out of here. But but it sucks because that sound really fucks up what I love I love the beat on there. I love what L does on there. So it's like, God, man, like I kind of have to just turn my brain on.
But what's ill about that? What's ill is there is something to that sound that's endearing and stuff. Like Elucid does that. It's like, that's why I call him the sound terrorist. He'll put something in there that's irritating on purpose. He has something on Jealous God where he just throws in a sound almost like that. It's like this weird piercing again. If you listen in the headphones, you jump back, and that's what he wanted to happen. So like he'll put little like sound like, I don't know, shape bombs if you call them, and things that'll fuck you up in the headphones on purpose. LP, I don't know if he was being that graceful with it. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe that deliberate. It was just like, yo, they just sound ill.
People do shit like that. Like, they want to fuck you up. Like, why you want to fuck me up for, bro?
Yeah, so, I'm going to say, like, come on, bro.
Well, we got a vote to cut, a vote to keep. So it comes down to me. And my vote is to keep this motherfucker. I love the co-flowy sort of nature. I think it is a very like sort of simple backbone to the beat. Yes, it does have some annoying dressings on there, but it gives it that character that I do fucking love. This is one that like will give you a headache if
Zilla looks so disgusted in you right now.
Welcome to the game, baby. Welcome to the game.
I am perplexed.
I like it. You're
can't
talking,
get a beat on this guy.
And Zilla's like this. Zilla's like,
I can't get a beat on this guy.
Every time you think you got me pinned
I have to woo him to keep DeLorean, but he's like the most grating sound in the world. He's like, I'm gonna keep this one in. Let's keep that. Yeah,
because you know what it is. The rapping on this song does not fail any of the metrics or any of the sort of standards that's there. And like I love the Camus verse. I even like the Cage verse, and I'm not a huge Cage fan, but you know
it was hard to say no to Camus and Cage. But what are you gonna
do? So Sean, we have effectively fucked up the Wrecking Crew shit. Like they were batting 1,000 up until this moment. Now it's all fucked up. Not even about to have infighting. They about to have infighting. The group is about to break up. All types of shit. Like we done fucked it all up.
I did go to bat for this song because it's a real rare occurrence when Cage sounds good. So,
yeah.
Wow, that was the most like backhanded endorsement ever.
It's like a real rare occurrence.
Hell's Winter is all that. We all know that. So it's all good.
Hell's Winter's dope.
Yeah.
All right, Hell's Winter is another episode. So we're gonna move on. Then we have a crew in disarray. Accidents have happened apparently, and we're gonna move on to track 10. It is Stepfather Factory.
The latest technology. Stepfather Factory. Jobs for the community. Stepfather Factory. The age of familial industry. Building tomorrow's fathers today. Spilling the leftovers of creational clay.
So let me speak on this first. So again, like all of us that are LP fans are still in the back of our minds praying, maybe hoping, you know, you wish on a star, just like you're wishing on a Sir Menelik full length. It wasn't Scaramanga. You wanted Koflo to kind of come back. So Stepfather Factory was part 2 of a great Koflo song called Last Good Sleep.
Yeah.
And so like, just like being a Redman fan and following Superman Lover, Dr. Pulley's adventures on Green Island or whatever, when you can catch wind of a song that's done well and it has sequential sections of shit, even Peeping in My Closet with R. Kelly, fucking criminal ass, you want that to work. And so when I got to this song, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Because I love Last Good Sleep. I used to play it like till I got into a trance when I was a kid. I used to play it over and over and over again. And so when I got to this song, I was like, all right, we're following that. There was a video corresponding with the animation and stuff. And also another, like, this is more rhyme by numbers by L to make y'all really understand what he was saying. He simply pulled all the stops out in terms of how simplistic he made it. And because L was rhyming in such a staccato type way and very serrated with the blades back then, when he would simplify things, he would add another texture. The same way that Busta Rhymes, when he figured out how to rhyme calm on put your hands on my eyes can see, and it offers up a whole nother type of song for him. This is like a whole nother type of song for L when he pulls back and he's a lot calmer.
I like how you said when he figured out how to rhyme calm, which in saying it that way makes it seem like for like the 8 years prior, it was like, how do I rap calm? Like, what do I have to do this? And then like, he finally fucking cracked the code and shit. That's super funny to me.
That's funny.
So I love the joint and I hate the hook because I hate all the hooks that are say something and then say something else and then say something. And I hate those hooks. Like when you go, the stepfather, the stepfather. I always hated hooks like that. So I'm out on the hook, but I've always loved the joint. So it's kind of up there, but for me, it's a keep. But it's a tough keep because I fucking hate those hooks. But yeah, it's a keep.
The drums are amazing, bro.
The drums are amazing.
And that sound, the chorus, like that shit is creepy still. Like that is very unnerving. And then him talking about like selling a robot stepdad's gonna like drink and beat you and shit. Like that shit is crazy, man. Like I remember hearing it on a promo disc or something as the lead single on like a CD wallet, and I'm like, this is the first single. I'm like, this is heavy. And at the end, when like the robot voice like, why are you making me hurt you? I love you. I'm like, this is fucked.
And the video was creepy too. The video was unsettling too when paired with the content of the song. You know,
this isn't live evil and you just jumping off a fake wall and hanging yourself. This is like stuff that really creeps in and you're thinking about after the song and not just the shock value. I brought up live evil.
Yeah,
I don't know if people remember the Flatliners.
Yeah.
There was a shock value with, so everybody killed themselves at the end of their verse. But it was done on a set and it was done like, kind of campy. But it's like, oh my God, like just the imagery of somebody hanging themselves in the video. Coincidentally enough, Triple X Tentacion got in trouble for before he passed. But back in the day, it was like, let me do a little shock value video. And also Flatliners were hardcore. What I'm saying is with LP and the Stepfather Factory song, this stuff is done at a higher level where it really creeps into you and makes you start applying your life to these situations. Did you know somebody that went through that? I know everybody here knows plenty of stepdads because fathers wasn't shit back then. So there was a lot of stepdads that were in the mix or boyfriends and shit that came in and, I was a single child. So I grew up with this whole, I'm the man of the house. Certain boyfriends my mother had, I didn't fuck with at all. You know what I'm saying? And so when I heard this song, I could relate to those times where I was kind of seething when one of them tried to discipline me and I wasn't fucking with it. Nobody put their hands on my mother, but just having that conflict in your house in terms of who's the head of the household with this foreign entity. And then to see this fucking robot factory making these motherfuckers and sending them out to their country was, he was hitting a high level there.
It's like, I'm not only the president, I'm a client.
Yeah.
and you know what I admire about it too? It's like it is sort of a semi-universal theme that he was touching on, but he's done this before and he'll do it again, that he takes a topic that you could have very easily just sort of went more surface, but what a creative way to frame this concept, to create a world around it. And I admired that he did this again on the second record with Flyentology, where it's just like, what a interesting way to frame a concept and wrap it in a world, in a conceit that there's nobody in history who has written these songs. There's nobody who has written a song about like an allegory of a factory making robotic alcoholic stepfathers. And then there's nobody who's done a song about like a religion, basically about why it is that like people who are atheists will suddenly turn to God when their plane crashes. You know, like it's just, he's very fucking creative. And I know that seems like redundant. Like why should I have to say that?
A lot of drugs, bro. And then records. It's dope.
Maybe so, but my vote is to keep this as well. Wrecking Crew.
You know what? Let me ask you guys a question. How did LP grow up? I'm just wondering.
He grew up
in New York.
Well, no, he grew up in a typical New York upbringing. His father was around, but not really around. I had the same type of situation. I didn't know. So then he had a stepfather. There was also like, to relate to anybody living in other places, there's that sardine living. We live on one floor, somebody's above you, somebody's next to you. So you get a glimpse of their life. You get a glimpse of your upstairs neighbors coming down the steps and stuff. So even if you don't personally go through things, you go through things by osmosis. Yeah. Same thing with Nas when he was looking out the project window. You witness a lot of things, whether you go through them or not. So they blend into your life. And then if you do go through them, you start having, empathy of like, I remember I was really close to like my upstairs neighbors 2 floors up because their father wasn't around, at that point, God rest my dad and shit. But just stuff like that. So you definitely to me, I think the upbringing can be explained in. There's a lot of people's other lifetimes that fall on top of you, as opposed to maybe if you lived in a house with a gate and you had space in between your homes and a yard, you don't know what's going on at the Hemmings. You might not know, they close their door. They keep this business to themselves. But I know what's going on with the Johnsons, unfortunately, because we share a wall. Right. So, yeah.
Shout out to Cormega. You exploit niggas' lives in your rhymes and then avoid them. You know what I'm saying? So shout out.
Hell yeah.
So it's a unanimous keep, but shout out to MidaZ for pointing out something about this chorus that I'd never actually noticed, but now that you did, I'm going to fucking hate it for the rest of the day.
I hate him because
for the community.
Just right quick, I hate
terrorist chorus.
Fucking call and response. I hate call and response. I hate anything to where, and it sucks because I don't want you to tell me to put my hands up at the show. Don't tell me, bro.
Mighty, you're reading my mind. Here's why. I watched this old performance from 15 years ago. I was scouring YouTube, looking at my old footage, and I found an old performance of mine and my friends. And it was ill in a sense that this was one of my friends. I had a hip hop collective back then, and we all performed, but we all were kind of different artists, similar to Wrecking Crew. And one of my mans, he had all of these songs that were written in a way where there was all of this audience participation written in every hook and every bridge. Put your hands, it was in everything. And I was like, dang. And I remember in my performance experience, I really didn't like when you kind of forced the crowd to do it too much. I liked it when it was more organic. And and if you asked them, they wanted you to ask them at that point in the show. And I'm not dissing my man at all, but he knows it. He had 4 songs. We did 8 song set. It was his set. But 4 of the songs had.
Hands up. Second song was
keep and it's in the song is telling the audience what to do. And it was this is back when we used to perform 10, 12 of us on stage. We're all doing it. And I'm just it's cool, but I did not want it. We got to the 3rd song doing it, and I'm like, oh God, here comes the hook.
Keep your hands up again.
It is pretty ballsy to bake it into I understand doing it in a live setting, but it's pretty ballsy to bake it into the existence
to bake it into the song.
That was his style. And the funny thing was he just had multiple songs like that, and we ended up doing all of them in the live set. Usually you would do 1 or 2 of them, one at the beginning, maybe one at the end.
So
and Zilla knows the artist too.
So MidaZ, I don't know if you heard Small Pro earlier, but he said you have an issue with Hip Hop Hooray.
Yeah, for the same reason. But here's the thing though.
This man looks so hurt.
To give hip hop Hooray his flowers though, it's the godfather of that. It's that.
Because Tretch is not rapping no call and response rap at all. If anybody knows,
that's what that is.
He's talking about stealing mad bitches. The whole every verse he's stealing women and throwing them back out to the streets when he's finished.
Yeah, bro.
Every bar is about that.
I'm not for the and for niggas who write, bro. I know how those kind of hooks come together, man. You starting to write it and you're like, well, I don't know what else to fucking say. I'll just say that again.
Remember that Jada Kiss song? Fuck that, put your hands up. Fuck that, put your hands down. You had nothing that day.
But then we love this is the block. And he said that's something they used to just hum to each other. And that ends up being a perfect. So there's both sides to it. Sometimes it's yo, man, this song needs a hook.
That was the worst.
Man, what are you gonna do? And then your man's been asleep for 4 days in the stew. He wakes up, and that's when he comes over. He's like, "Oh fuck it, that is late."
Yeah, I don't have nothing else to go with it.
That's what I'm saying. You just,
I'm good.
Guys,
put your hands down.
I'll remind you, we have we just did 10 tracks we've gone through so far, and we've kept 8. So we only have 2 more keeps left. So
here we go.
It's about, and if
good.
If we get through and there are leftovers, we do a reverse or sort of a circle back again to
a speed round.
Yeah, speed round.
Okay.
So we're gonna move on then to track number 11. It is TOJ.
Here I go. I haven't loved many people. I grew up afraid that I was crazy. But one time when I was deep inside your body, you burned. And I was sure that you were gonna have my baby. And you could tell that maybe time is out of joint, my love. So this is maybe just an SOS shrapnel, an echo of dead.
This is gospel. I think around that time, some girl had broken up with me or something. And I was like, oh man, if I could write out every lyric to this and give this to her, this is exactly how I feel and shit. You know what I'm saying? You women don't appreciate me and stuff. And it's just like that. When you just, you're just in that.
I put this song on a mix CD for a girl who broke up with me in college, and I saw her on campus, and I gave it to her. And
if you never put a hard ass hip hop song on a mix CD for a chick, you didn't grow up when we grew up.
Nah, bro.
But this was like that breakup song, and time is out of joint, and I was just feeling like, oh, this is me, man. I'm just starting. And I might have just started writing, around then. I wasn't doing it too heavy, but like, if I could get my emotions out like this cat right here.
It's like the first moment of beauty on the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's pretty.
It's the rose in the concrete.
Jazz swing. Like Smalls, what's that time signature?
I don't know, but it is odd. This is another hard beat to write to.
Right.
Yeah, the snares are all.
For me, it's interesting that you say that. To me, it's the most easily digestible song on the whole record.
For sure.
Lyrically, yes, and the swing, but as far as like what the count is, it's definitely like it's a 6, 8, or 10. Which you got to count it.
But here's the thing: it doesn't fucking matter because he don't rap on beat ever anyway. So, hey, whatever the fucking, he don't give a shit what the time signature ever is. Did you just hear the last bar that he played before he turns it off? He rapped a whole line on top of the other one. He don't give a shit. So, yeah, like the time signatures be damned on this whole record. Like, he gives no fuck. But the other thing I'll say about this joint is that this is one of the joints where LP does that thing where, like, he says he's ill because he's ill, and it's funny because he'll rhyme in complete sentence. Like, he'll say a complete line. Like, he says a whole line. But then it fucks up where the rhyme is. Like, where even is the rhyme and shit. Like, he'll say a whole line, and you'll be like, all right, and then you're gonna rhyme with that, and then he don't never rhyme with that. It just be
you don't go back to that.
It's so crazy. It's super crazy, but it's probably my favorite joint on the whole record.
Fuck yeah,
mine too.
One of my favorite hip hop love songs for sure. So couldn't imagine it not being on.
This is up there with Method Man and Mary to me, yo. It's that powerful.
Is this a hip hop love song though, or is this like a unrequited love?
Yeah,
heartbreak.
Yeah, this is what Dick. When you riding fucking trains, some bro broke up with you, and you just looking out at the buildings and stuff, and you ain't got nowhere to go but to get back on the other side of the train and ride back home. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. You just ride the train to oblivion, yo. Thinking about some shorty, yo.
I'm stealing that as an album title. Train to Oblivion.
I think that's an LP album title if he hasn't done it.
That's an indie movie he just soundtrack. Train to Oblivion on A24.
It's an obvious keep for me. It stands out so much in the best way. It is beautiful. It has a lot of emotion to it. He has vulnerability on there that obviously we maybe saw a little bit through an extremely complicated setup in the previous song for Stepfather Factory. But yeah, this is great. This is great. I love it.
We keep
unanimous keep, which means we have one song left, and we've got a little ways to go. And I have a feeling I have an idea about the next song coming up. Featuring Vast Air, it is Dr. Hellno and the Praying Mantis.
I'm Vast Air.
Make me bite your face. Come on. Cause it ain't like I like the taste. It's more of a psychological thing. My heart pace never change, but your cabbage you get rearranged. Don't make me bite your face.
Yo, this was the beginning. Hold on. This was the beginning of me realizing Vast Air is probably not going to be good at rapping anymore.
This is everything that you don't like about Vast Air that came true here. Later on.
This is the beginning.
It's in this track. It's in this track.
Like, do I remain one of the most
his worst hook instincts
ever, or do I
become the
trash, predictable, lazy rhymer? I'll go with B. Starts on this song.
It's very all of the
style
DNA
down to drain.
Everything is on this track right here. Shows you right here. Yeah,
you guys are enacting an LP track right now, and that you both are saying complete sentences on top of each other.
We do this on the phone every day. This is
like your homage to L. It's just like two really dope lines just on top of each other the entire time.
Put out the bonus version where you pan them in separate channels, like the 5.1 surround sound.
Like lyrics. But go ahead, Z, finish off.
It's just hearing him on this song, Like I was having fun when you were playing it because it's just so terrible, and I know the lyrics are just so bad. But I'm just like, he wrote this shit and was like, yeah, this is good. And I was like, yeah, we're all drunk as shit. Let's keep it. And then Vass was like, oh, like people want this from me because I got a thumbs up. And it's like, but he kept that thought for the next 20 years.
Right.
No one wants to hear you rap like this. I don't care who you keep around you. You are trash when you do this.
I'm sure that you guys have some like deeper and closer inlines to like this topic that we're talking about, but I definitely have read about and sort of, it's kind of common knowledge that this man obviously had his whole life to write the first album. You know, like some of these rhymes I heard, like Vast Air's rhymes on Cold Vein were years old, you know, and he'd be working on them for a long time. And then, yeah, the fall off is remarkable. I mean, I enjoyed like parts of Look Ma No Hands, and I think the production cool, is crazy. But yeah, this, I mean, even aside from
there's a lot of hip hop high tropes on Look Ma No Hands. The collaborations, Doom's on it, the production, Madlib's on it. But that was his last little foray, and you could tell that somebody else was helping him creatively with that. When when Bass was in the driver's seat on a record. The greatest rap music. Like, listen to the title, the greatest rap, album ever. Ugh. Like, everything putting him center. The 2001 Cannibal Ox Odyssey. He's a very arrogant, stuck-up MC at that point in his career.
He went from being very, very profound and interesting and kind of playful and cool to just basic. He's just a very basic, and that's what's so offensive to me. You know what I mean? Because like Cold Vein is so incredible and so poetic. It's like real art, and everything after that is like, you know, I ain't even packed no gat. I run up on you with a great adventure bat. What the fuck are you?
So, it's like you got off your one like gallery artistic show, right? Your first one, and then you just been living off that and drinking all the free wine of all of the art shows forever.
He is the fucking Wachowskis. The Matrix, and then everything else is in the trash.
It's all downhill from there. Him. Yep. And you're just living off your first explosion. Yep.
At the same time, I will say he has one of the dopest voices ever. So I think also but I, you know, in a certain way, maybe that has served as a crutch for him as well. Like I'm not as up on all of the material that he's done.
No, but his stuff can sound better because of the way he says it. He thinks it is better. But this is not Guru, where he knows, you know, the sounds of words and what sounds better coming out of his mouth. You see what I'm saying? There was no appreciation and curation for post Cold Vein. You see what I'm saying? Everything was like a scheme, a scam. You know what I'm saying? A grift. Yes. You know what I'm saying? A Schadenfreude after that. And the first thing was so poetic and pure. Yes. We're thrown. You're thrown for a loop after that. Because if he was just a charlatan MC from the gate.
Of it. He also only controlled 1/3 of Cold Vein. So like that makes sense too. But I'll say even with all of that, even aside from vast contributions to the songs, sex rap songs are real hard. It's a real tough, you know, line to walk. And L is also definitely on that vein, no pun intended, in this song. And that and the fact that the beat is kind of just like, it's kind of a dopey beat. I don't know.
To come after TOJ with this is just a real bad misstep.
So it's a keep for me.
Oh my God. I love to hear this. Go ahead.
Well, let me just start by saying, as much of a lyricist as
I'm going to pass out.
As much as a lyricist as I am, and I say this to people all the time, nobody ever understands me when I say this. Shout out to my bro Swanberger. I used to talk to him about this all the time. But like, as much as a lyricist as I am, I don't care about lyrics the way everybody else does, which is wild. Like, I care about my lyrics, but I don't care as much about everybody else's lyrics. When I listen to music, I more care about what I'm hearing as a whole thing. Like, what does this feel like to me? And does it feel good? I'm in. I don't really have to be invested in your bars to care about your songs, right? So like with Vast Air, I've never been invested in Vast Air bars. I don't care about what he's saying at all. I just like that, again, and this is like the weird part, I just like that he don't sound like LP on this song. So I've gotten 8-9 songs of one type of rap, And then I get another type of rap. I'm with the shits. You know what I'm saying? I'm just with it because I got a stab of some soul. You know what I'm saying? On there. There's some husk. There's a voice that doesn't sound like, like a goddamn lawyer on the raps. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm with the shit. You know what I mean? Like, and that did it for me. But it's always weird because like there's albums and there's rappers that I like, and they don't gotta have the bars. And it's weird because they'll be like Swanberger used to always say to me, but like, bro, like, do you know how you write? Like, yeah, I write lyrics. That's why I don't need nobody else's lyrics. Like, I'm good money on lyrics elsewhere. Like, all I do is live in this universe of poetry and deep bars and da-da-da-da. When I listen to music, I just be trying to enjoy myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. It's a weird dichotomy. But with that being said, this record is it's a hip hop song to me. Like, to me, this sounds just like a rap song to me. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like a lot of everything on this album is a proclamation. And this is not a proclamation. This is a rap song. This is an easy song for me to put on when I get in the car and drive. You know what I'm saying? I don't gotta be figuring out some shit. I don't gotta be all deep in the weeds. And I super agree with you niggas on the Vast Air decline. Like, hey, I'm with the shits on that. But at the very least, I like the fact that Vast just sounds like Vast. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just a one
Superman Lois Lane line. I'm like, bro, what year? It's 2002, and I'm like, what year is this?
Like, you know what it reminds me of though? You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of La Da Dark Man, right? So like, La Da Dark Man came out, and La was ill on the first album, and then when he, like in the years after, he's got hella basic.
Very simple. Yes, yeah.
But I'm almost not mad at it because I just like his voice.
True.
So like, I'm just okay with the fact that he's super simple because he's got a cool rap voice. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, to me, as long as you're rhythmic and as long as you're flavorful, I can listen to you on a song, regardless of kind of what you're saying, because I'm probably not listening to what you're saying anyway.
Fair enough.
Wow. I was not expecting that, but you do raise some good points. And yeah, I mean, like, I think if you're able to get over the Cold Vein hurt, like the fall off, then it's not like his voice fell off too. He's always going to sound good.
He's always going to sound good.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I'm sorry that you're getting outvoted on this, but later the I guess the one redeeming quality of it is that this song was also featured on the Def Jux.
What was that? 2. What was that Vast Air line? You were a stillborn baby. Mama didn't want you, but you were stillborn.
Pops is,
I don't know why that popped into my head.
Yeah, I mean, like even that, like, I don't know, like anything can sound corny or genius depending on how it's framed. So like, like I think that's a great line on Cold Vein. But if in the context of everything that's just been said and you saying it sort of goofily, I'm like, oh man, is that a stupid line? It's all very subjective.
But you were stillborn.
Hummingbird style 70 times in 1 second.
No, he has something. I'm wearing a shirt on the front that says "Go ahead." On the back it says "What now?" Like he knocked you down, and then when you see he walks away from you, you look at the back of his shirt. I already thought that was ill, but that's so horrible.
That is
such a horrible line.
My mother said you sucked my pussy when you came out. Don't ever talk.
That's one of the illest lines ever.
God,
that's the illest line ever.
Crazy. Nonetheless,
that's a crazy line.
We bid goodbye to Dr. Hell No and the Praying Mantis, and that means.
And I think if you look it up, I think that might be like some Godzilla stuff or something like that, like where he got the name from. It's like some old like monster movie. I think.
By the way, this is an album full of some of the greatest track titles of all time. So
yes,
absolutely. The drugs were incredible, man. Good drug album.
You were a stillborn baby.
All right, moving on to track number 13. It is Laserface's Warning.
City limits to murky acreage. Johnny can't affect the commands off of some basic shit. Advanced style shit, deep into the customized. New York state of emergency, perilous politics and law. Cling to the doom world, bound to the amateur. Cater to the linoleum motion.
That's a no from us. That's a no from us, though. No.
But that I was camping for that. I was campaigning for that, and then we went back and forth on that one.
So
it's just such a good group because it was. I like the hook a lot, so that was what I was fighting for.
So curious, in the committee that you guys formed prior to this, what were the ones that were tough for you? Were there ones that where it was pretty evenly split, or did you generally all agree on the same thing?
I think Prem was not fucking with y'all for most of this. Like,
no, we did like a voting system, and then the ones that had the most votes, those ones went out, and then the ones that had the least most votes, if you will, we had to vote again. And Laserface was one of those we had to do 2 votes on. Just because at that point in the record, we were trying to, compact it and slice it down.
Yeah, it never grabbed me as a song, and it's like an ode to psychedelics, and it doesn't really connect for me. And the beat is like, it's all right, it's fine.
Oh yeah, they did. It is an ode to psychedelics because that's what he says. Laserface. Yeah. That's a term they came up with for being like.
It's like the first time he made, to me, like in retrospect, like an LP type beat. You know what I mean? It's just stuff happening. And there's a drum break, and there's like Laserface, like he's sampling some weird old record, and he twists the meaning of it, and it's kind of weird. Like I like the part where it's like, "Yo, Steve, it's spring break. I want to hear LP." Like that's funny, but my case against it was the RJD2 remix is way better. Yeah, so it's not that good.
Yeah, it is. But the RJD2 is way broken down. It's a totally different type of beat.
Deep into the customized New York state of emergency, perilous politics and law. Cling to the human world, barren to the amateur. Cater to the linoleum emotion, it sex damages. A bird backlands pass for plant pathwalk. Mushrooms in the blood while a megaplex.
Yes.
And again, I'm glad that Prem brought it up. It is like their slang when they came up with being fucked up was being like Laserface.
Right.
And so, that's, I love it when I see crews start building their lexicon and stuff. We do it, we have certain phrases that we use, and we put it in interviews. We start putting it in songs and stuff. And next thing you know, you're saying it about, lunch. Hey, what are you going to Laserface for lunch? I don't know. Super shit. But I think that's dope. But it had to go. Song had to go.
I don't remember exactly what the timeline was for me, and I might have heard the RJD2 remix like concurrently as I was hearing this album or around the same time. But to me, for whatever reason, the RJ version was the definitive version. And in that sense, whenever I hear this, I'm like, oh, this is like the version of the song I'd rather not be listening to. I'd rather hear the RJ version because it was a lot cleaner. And like,
it's like you ever hear like the track listing original version of Loungin' by LL off Mr. Smith? It's trash.
Yeah.
It is trash.
What is that? Ali, what?
Lounging. Who do you love?
Yeah,
I want it.
Oh yeah, I think I heard
that's a remix.
Like
the album version is horrible.
Yeah,
it is.
That's true.
I don't even know if I remember that.
The Lounging is on Mr. Smith, right?
Right, but it's not on the album. It's the total remix. It's like this for me, what L and the RJ remix. It's like listening to Lounging album version versus the remix single version. That's me and Laser.
And that'll have an effect on you. That happened to me with on Intelligent Hoodlum. I tell that story all the time. Grand Groove, the video was the Diamond D remix. But on the album, on the last track, is like some other, I don't know who's producing it. And I went through all of this rigmarole of trying to get my DJ friend, because it was a B-side on a record. And back then, it was just white labels. And if you weren't like a DJ or you didn't go to those stores, you didn't have access to those versions of the songs. You just had what was on the album. And I remember buying the album, and I played it, and I let it go all the way to the end, thinking it was like more song, and it just stopped. And I was like, where's the version I love?
Yeah, that's how I feel about G-Raps on the Run. The other G, there's a version of the G, and I still to this day don't know which version is the right version and which one's not. But there's a version I like and a version I don't. And it's it's like whenever I go to pull it up and it's not the one I like, I can't switch it fast enough. The
only time that didn't happen where you might love the remix more than the original was Fuji and like the Resurrect the remix or whatever those remixes were, the 6-7 remixes at the end, the Joie de Live remix, and like they just made songs with different beats, and I didn't like any of them. But yeah, but point being, back to the original point, sometimes you can like the remix more than the original, and it'll make you think, you'll have your own, back then is the era of playlist. You make your own version of shit like we're doing now. So
MidaZ, what's your take?
It's a cut, bro.
Yeah.
It's a cut.
Unanimous cut. You heard it here first.
Later.
Because where else would you hear this? Anyway, we're going to go on to the next song. It is track 14, Innocent Leader. It is a cut for me.
Ooh, Zilla about to punch you.
This is another moment where Company Flow's poking his head through. But I wanted Smalls to talk on why we cut this, because this is the instrumental part of the record. So why did we cut it, this one, Smalls?
Why did we cut this one?
Because it was a beat and we was like, this ain't going to be Illmatic with one weird-ass half interlude song on there.
You know, I didn't even realize that was that one.
I like the David Bowie hand clap. I'm always a fan of that.
I actually like this. we had to cut it though, so
yeah.
He should have called this Deep Space 9mm, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like a beat out of a fucking a 70s movie about space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it sounds
like the beginning of the animated Transformers movie.
Yeah, it's dope. And it definitely fits in that realm, and it's dope. But we cut it out of like necessity. But like this is like Company Flow again. They were very much into the instrumental angle of their careers, and they put focus on that just as well. And so like I love that they were like the beats were just as important. Like sometimes certain albums, one is like more emphasized than the other.
Yeah.
But I think Company Flow LP and his exactly. And I think LP and Company Flow and what he was doing with Def Jux, there was an emphasis on all of the elements, even the corny parts. Everything was going to be the turntablism, b-boying in the video, you know what I'm saying? The beats, the rhymes, everything was important.
Yeah. I will say, growing up as a kid who wasn't surrounded by the 5 elements of hip hop, and then being flooded with the 5 elements of hip hop in college, I was never a fan of include all 5 elements of hip hop in things that I'm doing. Like, you know what we need to do? We need to have b-boys in the video. I was like, yo, get shit out of here, bro. Like, what are we talking about? But to that point, I do like how tastefully done and not so like obviously done on this record. He does infuse all the elements of hip hop. It's not like
this is a b-boy up rock song. This song people can dance to.
Yeah, and but it's not so obviously done. And the you can feel the graffiti and there's sounds all through it and the turntablism. It's not just like this corny insertion of like, let's represent the elements for hip hop.
Oh, like Black Star.
All them out.
Boys, B-boys, B-girls.
Black Star.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Black Star definitely did it paint by numbers, but LP and them were like,
involved.
this is.
Shut up.
Yeah. I've had to explain to people for years how B-boys and MCs don't really get along.
Yeah.
There was a clash.
Yeah.
Because you know why? There was at the party, there was the double stride for the center of attention.
Right.
People dancing in the middle and the MC on stage. And both people clashing. The DJ, they unfortunately learned to play their part because even they were part of it. It was like a three-man war, 3-person war. The DJs wanted attention for how they were spinning and cutting and playing breaks and finding these breaks. The MC wanted attention for having the microphone and being the loudest person in the room. And the dancers wanted attention because that's what we was there for in the party in the first place.
We almost fought B-boys.
Oh yeah.
It was like, nah, fuck y'all. Because what used to happen was the B-boys would break before the show started.
Right.
So DJs spinning, B-boys are breaking, there's a big circle around the B-boys. Okay. Now the show starts.
And they still want to dance.
Still breaking. Right? So you on stage, you rapping, and people are like, oh, but they're not always rapping. They're owing because this nigga just did a goddamn leg flare. If you don't get that shit out of here, bro, I used to hate that shit.
I mean, you remember that, but I remember some of those same events that we were both at some of those. And like, that was one of the scenarios. Other times it'd be like all the B-boys would turn their back to the stage while the rapper was rapping. It's just like,
wow, they're on strike.
It was
they were in their own, like, all right, so there would be these B-boy events and the B-boys and B-girls would be in their own world, did not care about especially if the rappers performing weren't doing things they could dance to.
Hold up.
They were definitely clocked out.
The rappers performing word hip-hop. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, like, you know, draw a line in the sand here against the B-boys, but like, how immature is that? Is it like, yo, I'm going to an event and if anything doesn't make me dance, I'm out of here. Like, there's no equivalent.
But that's why Chaos sold millions of records, because everybody could do both while all his joints were on. Yeah. And then also there's some Ghostface success with that too. People were able to start dancing to his stuff on Supreme. And there's a thing about music that you could dance to and music you can't really. You know what I'm saying? And essentially that's what a lot of this stuff started as, you know, music to dance to.
I've since become friends with a few B-boys, but years ago, I wouldn't even admit that shit. Like, nah, I don't fuck with none of them niggas. Now, you know, I fuck with the B-boys and shit. Like, shout out, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no B-boys running up on me at the gas station, at the Wawa and shit. It's love now. But back then, it was no love. So,
I mean,
you know.
Do B-boys even listen to podcasts? I don't think we have anything to worry about, right?
Yeah.
That's a good point. You can't,
I mean,
you can't
play
dance to these shits, so it doesn't matter.
No, you can't. You're in breakbeat. It's not time for practice.
So anyway, all of that is a long way of saying that we're cutting Innocent Leader. But, you know, all that is also to say it's not a whack beat, and it's not that I have a problem with an instrumental record, but like you guys said, out of necessity, we can't really keep it. It's also not even, it's not in my top echelon of LP beats either. So it's,
It is an interesting beat, though. I don't want to hate on it. It's an interesting beat. But
I love this beat. We had to cut it, though, so.
Yeah.
All right, so then we're moving on to the penultimate track on the album. It's Constellation Funk.
I know white rappers who claim they're more artistic and advanced than the inner city tuners. Now you fucked up and can't move units, cause you know nothing of the culture that created hip-hop music. Stuck in an authenticity contest with a bunch of cats who grew up in the exact same way that you did. Now where do you fit?
It's really impressive how he goes from, like, how he jumps from flow to flow, man. Like, he's a scientist. He's a scientist, man. It's really impressive.
Today was the first time I heard the Cool G rap. I know somebody mentioned that earlier. But yeah, you can't.
In his style, yeah.
Yeah.
So we kept this on, and it was because we went back and forth. We actually know the cat that does the hook. Like he's a rap associate of NASA.
Yeah,
NASA.
He's really kind of coming to Anycon on this, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
White rappers are getting it. Getting it
in a way that I think was completely necessary and needed to be said, and like in that way it sort of represents this moment in time of pointing out like a legitimate problem that I'm not saying that he nipped it in the bud, but it definitely is something that was a message that needed to be received. And ironic also that it's coming from a white guy in hip hop, but like totally just being like, yo.
Well, that's how poignant it was. He was like, you know, we're tourists in this, like, you know, understand where you're stepping, don't step on any graves, you know, honor the soil and shit that you're inhabiting and shit.
Fam, we've had a talk recently in group text about certain cats like this now that are on this bullshit, which fucking infuriates me, of this fucking highbrow, like fucking liberal arts college rap shit. I don't fuck with that, period. I don't like that. Because it's these motherfuckers that, and I'm glad he was calling that out 20 years ago, because it's a remix of that shit happening now, where no rap fans know of these motherfuckers, but because they do great at Wesleyan College and Brown University, they think they're the shit because their Bandcamp is cracking. But it's like, MidaZ the Beast doesn't know you. None of MidaZ's friends know you. None of our friends know you because you rap for liberal arts college motherfuckers. The same way these dudes were doing in Anycon back then. And shouts to Dose One. He's our OG. Dose One, we used to be doing dust and battling in North Philly. Like, Dose One's a real artistic but raw MC. I'm not talking about him. But like that ilk of those, that type of archetype that Anycon built back then, that, you know, and some of them dudes like really are real rappers and doing it, but like they got lumped in with that, and if they didn't get out of that, then they fell when L clipped.
Yo, Z, let me cut to the meat. Like Alaska says this, and it's so true. You can't be a rap practitioner and you don't like any black artists, and you would bump into these cats that would just. You would like, oh, who you like? And then they start listening, and it's all of these white cats.
Aesop,
and I'm like, wait a minute.
Obviously, bro.
You don't like any LL. You don't like Redman. You don't like just basic. I'm just talking basic black rap. You know what I'm saying? You don't like, Juicy J. You know what I mean? You don't enjoy the yin yang twin. Oh, I don't. That's not real. Like, and then you start realizing what's really going on here. You know what I'm saying? And it's appropriation at the fullest. And LP was calling it out back then. And this is the healing that everybody needs to take. White folks do need to go talk to their own white communities about what they feel is not right and is going against moral standards and stuff. And like we've been saying it till our throats are dry. We need y'all to say it, to y'all peoples. And he was saying it to his people. He was like, look, I know I'm ill at this, but I'm and back then, as Zilla can attest to, this is when there's one white guy in the room. You know what I'm saying, at these events and stuff. So you had to be bold enough to just be there, much less speak this way. So yeah.
You basically said it there. I think the only thing that I would add is just, that honestly, bro, like there was such a stain on what I thought was nerd rap because I didn't know it well enough. I put all that shit in one ass pot. So like when I used to hear this joint, it's like, yeah, but you them niggas too. All you niggas is the same niggas, bro. Like I didn't see no difference between none of these motherfuckers. I didn't know the difference between Cold Flow and Idea and Bill. I didn't know that all these niggas is weird ass fucking nerd rap niggas. Like that's how I saw it back then.
Just to be clear, even as you were being derisive of them, you calling them the N-word definitely excited them and made them feel better about what they were doing.
Like that Chappelle shit. He called us the N-word. Awesome.
By the way, the funniest thing about the word nigga in that term is how it can be niggas and mean everything.
Everything.
Black niggas, blue niggas, my niggas.
Like the word Smurf.
Fits every scenario. Like no other word that's ever been created. Anyway, with that being said, it was hard for me to differentiate a lot of that stuff because it was weird. When I found out about some of those beefs and stuff, I used to remember talking to my homeboy who was really deep, and I'm like, yeah, but they all do the same thing, bro. Like, what are they even beefing about? Like this music doesn't even sound different from the other fucking songs you just played. It would be like if Sons of Man had beef with Killer Army. Like, okay,
what are we doing?
These motherfuckers don't sound no different, bro. Like, what are we even listening to? But that was now obviously my ears have changed a bit throughout the years, and I look back and I see and listen to it and hear it all a bit different. But it's just funny how that was running and playing back then, because back then to me, and to the point of like when you were saying, bro, you don't listen to like I used to hate it when people would be like, yeah, but you ain't fucking with Sage Francis, you don't know real hip hop. Like, nigga, I'll punch you in your shit. You tell me how to look.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's there, that subtlety gets lost in a lot of the background stories about some of these artists is lost on the audiences. And yeah. So this song is a keep for me as well. Keeper. I think it's a dope beat. It's a dope concept. I love the verses, the potency. Wow. So MidaZ, is it a cut or keep for you?
It is actually a keep though, because it's super fire, but it just reminds me of just this era of like being introduced to all this stuff. And I was introduced to it all at the same time. So all of it was the same to me. I was just like, okay, what is the difference between, why are these two rappers who rap the same beefing? Like, I don't understand this science, but yeah.
Oh shit.
All right, so that's a unanimous keep. We're moving on to the final song on the album featuring Mr. Liff. It's Blood.
Right. I saw a dream flow slow through the soluble hemoglobin with jackals of every trade where their boogie faces promoters. She's walking beneath the rain, we're connected by flesh extender, hopping through every puddle. My little walkers connected. I showers created biscuits and gripping slipping.
I really like this song. I do like the hook. I think it's one of like the stronger hooks on the album. Yep. I like the Liff verse. I was a big Mr. Liff fan in this era as well. And I love the beat. I mean, to me, this is a keep. I know that is going to put us over, but I'm prepared to do it. I think that this song belongs on this record more than some of the other songs that we've kept. I vote to keep Blood.
I'll just quickly stab in just because I'm just going to vote to keep because shout out Mr. Lift. I've always had love for Mr. Lift. So shout out Mr. Lift. Let's vote to keep. But go ahead, Prem.
No, I'm just saying it's just like a great closer. I don't really know.
It is a great closer.
Yeah.
That's powerful and triumphant, and then Lift closes the album, which is dope. You know what I mean? With the last verse.
Look, there's no and props to you, Sean. There's no bigger Lift fan than your boy right here. I was so enamored and I worshiped Lift back then. So just to have him at the end closing it out, and C Ray's on the hook. But like I'm such a fan of Lift, and so he was just on my last record. And big shout outs to him just to bless me with a 16. And I love everything he's ever done. I think I have everything he's ever done, even the albums that Z don't like. And so yeah, just to have him on this joint at this point in the record, and the beat just crazy. Another great LP production. Like you're so entranced, you forget. Oh man, he produced this beat too. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those type of beats. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want real quick one part when he says out on the hook where he's like, "When I say she, I mean God.
God, give me strength." Yep.
He has ill, man. That's an ill thing to say.
And I also love the way the song and the album subsequently ends, where like the drums get kind of even louder and more reverberated, and it's a fade out, and like it's just like it's kind of like he's talking about like personal shit on this record. He's always been a bit like pretty transparent about his familial ties and the roles that like his mom played, and like his feeling like he needed to protect his mom. And there's a lot. This song is about like that familial connection. So it just like. It's very emotional, despite the fact that this whole album is like dipped in like acidic turpentine. It's very poignant, and I really love the way that ends. So we have a unanimous keep here. So
yes,
that means we are one over, gentlemen. So we have to go through here and figure out which song we are going to cut. So
oh boy,
we'll do this speed round style. This is our current track listing that we have here: Fantastic Damage, Squeegee Man Shooting, Deep Space 9mm, Tune Mass Damper, DeLorean, The Nang, Accidents Don't Happen, Stepfather Factory, TOJ, Constellation Funk, and Blood. So,
accidents don't happen. It gotta go.
Yeah,
it gotta go.
Also, my argument for that would be that Blood is the better representation of putting two label mates on a song, and we should keep Blood instead of Accidents Don't Accidents Don't Happen.
And Accidents is not even filled with label mates. That's filled like Weathermen. All of them weren't necessarily on Jux.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, like Yak and them. I'm just saying, like at that point, Blood had more of the Jukians than
right.
Accidents Don't Happen.
John.
I like Accidents more than I like the Nang.
Ooh.
Oh.
You traitorous, backstabbing,
I'm just saying.
Sucking, flushing. No, I'm just kidding.
Full-time.
Accidents don't happen.
I do like Accidents Don't Happen better than the Nang. But I will say that both of those songs occupy like a second B tier to me on this album. Still songs that I fuck with and like, but they aren't like my absolute must keeps. MidaZ, what do you say about your choice for a cut?
Nobody would agree with my choice for a cut. So I'm trying to vibe off of y'all.
You're gonna cut Stepfather. You want to cut
Stepfather?
You're insane.
I would have cut Stepfather. Stepfather.
You're gonna cut Stepfather. MidaZ, don't do it. You're gonna cut Stepfather. Yo, what you bugging?
Yeah, I would have cut Stepfather, but gosh, I mean, Accidents is tough because I like Accidents, so it's a
half the beat is amazing. The other half is the worst sound of all time. That's why it's decisive.
Just imagine if you had your equalizer and your stereo, just take the top end off.
That's all I would do.
It's great. I will say this. I have a very short and brief career in getting high, and I definitely got super high when this record came out and remembered listening to this song on loop. So there might also be like drug-related nostalgia playing at hand here.
Wait, for accidents? Accidents and the Bang, that I can cut accidents if it's between accidents and the Bang.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
Beat switches were all the rage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I would just say, Sean, if we didn't do this episode, you would happily go another 20, 30 years of your life without thinking about accidents don't happen. You would not give a fuck about that song. You'd be running up Deep Space, Stepfather, Two Man Squeeze. You would be like, oh man, accidents don't happen. Whoa. Nah, man.
So the question we have to ask ourselves now is, as much as you guys loved the record when it came out, do you think the record is better in a 10-track version of it? Because the idea with this whole thing is sometimes these projects have fat. So did we trim the fat properly? And if we did, if this were the version of the album that when it came out, would it have been received differently? Do you think it would have even been exalted even to another level?
It's fine.
Yes.
It's fine.
Definitely think it would have been.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been received differently. It might have been rated higher, but it would have been received a lot differently.
Okay. All right.
If it didn't have all of the pieces that had to it. This didn't seem like a record that once you shorten it, it would appeal to more people necessarily. You know what I'm saying? I might go in the other direction. But I think
mad if it came out as 10 songs. When it came,
been mad?
they wanted so much. Yeah, people wanted. Yeah.
Would have been mad, being as I was definitely like, one of them. I would have been like, 10 songs. You made us wait this long for only 10 songs. I would have chosen that, I think, happily. But now, as like a more refined listener, I would be like probably happier with this 10-song version.
All right. So rapid fire, each one of you. What is the mic rating now on this album? We'll start with you, Prem.
Still 4. Yeah.
Pro?
4.
The 10 song?
Oh, 10 song 4.0. 10 song 5.
He goes 5.
My bad. I didn't realize that. I'll go 4.5.
4.5. All right. What about you, Castro?
It goes to a 4.5. 10 version.
I want to say 5. It's hard for me to say that because 5 is like, rarefied air. But I think these 6 extra really just going back to the record. I'm like, man, I really don't need to hear some of these joints ever. But I think I would say a 5 because then if you just give it to these 10 songs, it still sounds like nothing ever made before or after it. Like, you can't compare any record to this. The same way you can't compare like De La's Dead to Shit or Aquemini. It's not on that level of like accessibility, but it's still like high art of originality.
Yeah. I'd agree. I'd move up. I had it 3.5. I'd move up 4.
Bet.
I think we cut the fat. I think it may honestly, you cut the fat on this record and it makes some of the abstract less abstract just because you have less of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It makes it a little bit easier to digest because there's not so much to digest. You know what I'm saying? So I think for LP and for guys who, this is like a lesson that I learned a long time ago, with especially, like Zilla said, keep it brief, son, have short and twice strong. Like when you're saying a lot, when it's so, my man says to me, so Deli always says, one of the criticisms I get a lot from my music recently is that the songs are really short. I get that all the time. It's like, yo, your songs are mad short. Like I wanted a second verse on that. Why you ain't get a second verse on that? Why you ain't do another verse on that? I get that all the time.
All that 2-verse shit. Like the song is done when it's done.
The song's done when it's done. But funny?
Back to that 15-year-ago performance I found. My man had a song with 3 verses. We got to the third. I was like, oh, hell no. I started fast forward. I was like, oh.
I don't ever want to hear a 3-verse song that's not 3 different rappers for the rest of my life. But with that being said, when people say, I was telling Deli one time, I was like, yo, bro, like some of the feedback is that, the songs, people want a second verse on this. And Deli said, if they want a second verse on this, they can play it again. And I was
That's
like,
right.
damn, I fuck with that, bro. And honestly, when you're given as much density and content in your bars as a LP is, or like like I try to do, like, bro, I know you ain't even caught the first verse yet. Go back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like with LP, it's like this album will take you 20 years to decipher. Right. So you might need a little bit, if you were to get a little bit less of that and it was able to be, all right, now I can kind of focus in on this joint and it's funny because it's 16 joints and they're not short. They're like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes.
Yep.
Right? So like,
That's a long
I do
listen.
think if you cut it down a bit, it turns into a listen where you're now a more focused listen where you're going, okay, I can really hone in on what you're talking about, figure it out a little bit better.
Yeah, real quick, reminds me of Elmore Leonard, the writer. He was like, any book over 200 pages long, like 230 pages, is like masturbatory. What do you really got to say that's over 230 pages? Get to the fucking point of the story. And so when I listen to it, I'm like, but like for rap, I'm like, if you go past 40 minutes in rap, that's a lot, bro.
It's tough, especially if you're a super lyricist.
Yes.
Like if you're very surface level, that's one thing. But if you're really saying shit, like you
should have said it by 2 verses.
Right.
Should have got what you needed to say.
I've always thought that it seems like a little immature. It's like, really? Like, you really need 20 songs? Like, all of these songs are the best songs. Like, all of these songs are equal? Like, no, it's not. It's very rarely the case. So, for me, I do think that we have improved the record. I rated it as 4 before. I don't know if the rating changes for me, to be honest, because I think all the things that I love about this record are still exemplified in the record, and all the things that I have issues with are still present even in the songs that we kept. But it is still a record that I love. Now, personally, if we go on a side tangent, I think I'll Sleep When You're Dead is the best thing that he's ever done. I think that was him taking the style and refining it and improving upon it. And I have friends who think I'm like an idiot for saying that, and that Fantastic Damage is the pure uncut, and that is, the one. But
you're not wrong.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
So now we want to know what you think. You just listened to us talk about Fantastic Damage for 2 hours. Did we make the right choices? Did we keep the right songs? Let us know. Hit us up. All of our tags are going to be in the show notes. We'll be posting about it. You can shoot me an email at sean@questionshiphop.com. Big shout out to the Wrecking Crew. Make sure that you check out their latest album, Sedale Threat. It is available wherever you get your music, and it is very dope. The Questions Hip Hop Trivia Podcast is a proud member of the Stony Island Audio Network. Big shout out to the Dad Bod Rap Pod, Fatherhoods, Open Mike Eagles, Secret Skin, Super Duty Tough Work, The Raw Report. Man, it feels good to be part of a squad that consistently puts out creative, thoughtful, and really dope rap-related content. I love it. I hope you're loving it too. The show's theme is by MidaZ the Beast and Czarism. The show is produced, hosted, and edited by me, Sean Kantrowitz. We will be back next week with another episode. Peace.